So I worked on the systems that controlled the launch of the missiles, installing the guidance systems in the missiles while we were 300 feet underneath the surface of the ocean.
Damn, bro.
I got to launch some dummy missiles. And then shore duty, I was the guy that would take off the old warheads and put the new warheads on. So,
that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Guys, I know for a fact I hit start broadcast.
But
yeah, I was like, I thought it was just my computer lagging, bro.
No, I swear I started.
I thought I just have a crappy computer. I do have a shitty
then I looked
computer,
over.
but
There must have been a hiccup because I looked over and said. And it said, "Are you ready to start yet?" People are waiting.
So, wait a minute, Jim. What's that about organization and precision with the Army?
Oh man! Well, hey, he's a Marine. You can't blame him.
Do you know what Marine stands for? You know what Marine stands for? Muscles are required. Intelligence not essential.
Not essential. Yeah, that's one of the things that stands for.
I was going to say, there's no precision in organization in the military. That's why we win wars.
So, you ever heard the phrase "close enough for government work"? That probably came from someone in the military, honestly.
Something to do with the horseshoe and math. Yeah.
To catch everyone up, Beck already gave his everything. So B, no, just B is the what else? What was I missing? Oh, and
Jeez.
what the kind of stuff.
Let me just say it again, Jim.
It was all the stuff. It was like all the stuff.
Okay, so I'm B, no, just B on YouTube. I stream Monday and Wednesday nights on my channel, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, mostly open mics, some interviews. Have my channel for about 2 years and pretty much just try to get everybody to be friends and get more of a broadened, tighter knit community together. Because I think that we all need some support, and sometimes we bump into that one guy that understands us. So I encourage like mental health, and I advocate for everybody. So that's what I do on my channel. When I was in from 88 to 92. I was HQ supply for the Hawk missiles, supply tech for the Hawk missile system, and also an 88 mic, also a truck driver. And was in the National Guard and spent most of the time, about half the time I was in, I worked for them, and found a really good family and community there, and at the appropriate time.
Daniel, they missed all yours too, so start over. I apologize.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
You have to pour your heart out about your art now again.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's okay. It was practice. I did better the second time. You're fine.
Now, yeah, it's like, yeah, no pressure, dude.
Yeah, no pressure, right? My name is Daniel Simon. Like I was saying, where you can find me online, there's 2 Facebook group I'm on. I'm managed. Oh, I didn't even mention the other one I'm a member of. That's like the whole Christian one. I forgot the name, but the other group I manage is called Reason and Research. It's kind of atheist heavy Christian light group where the Christian kind of have to defend themselves. We're not the majority in that group, and it's really fun because the atheists ask us some tough questions. And as far as my rank, I was in the military from 1997 to 2001, and after that, I did a few years in the National Guard. Before I got saved in the Army. Before I was saved, before I joined the Army, I was a little hippie black kid in New York. I thought I had talent. I was trying to be an artist. I love photography and illustration, graphic design. I had dreadlock. I was always going around New York broke with a camera taking pictures. And then I hit 24, no real job, no real prospect as far as relationship. Dropped out of school a couple of years before that. So I joined the Army, and then my whole life changed. And ever since, I've been on this trek to just become a better me. So as far as the rest, I think that's it, right? Name, rank, where you can find me. Yeah, I think that's everything.
And Tom, they caught the last half of what you said. So if you want to hit the wave tops again.
All right, yeah. So yeah, I was in the Navy from 96 to 2004, and I was in ballistic missile submarines, missile technician. So I worked on like installing the guidance systems when we went alert, maintaining all the support equipment for the missile tubes that launched the missiles. I even got to launch some test missiles. And when I went to shore duty for a couple of years, and on shore duty, I was the guy that would missiles on and off, or take the old warheads off, put the new warheads on, and so that was what I did in the Navy. And so that was the first part of what I said.
I didn't even describe my job. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot my job. I was 52 Charlie, which is like someone that work on air conditioners, generators, and water filtration systems. That was my job. Yeah, I forgot that part.
Excellent.
Sorry, Jim.
All right, TJ.
Everybody probably knows me if they watch you enough from old stuff. I used to be on the show, so I'm a regular. I'm TJ, and I was a third class in the Navy when I got out, which is an E4, and I was an aviation electronics technician. Not really glamorous. We had this saying, there's only two types of ATs, geeks and criminals. So, little column A, little column B. So it's all good. But, everybody knows me. I'm just a joker, a smoker, and fucking, cut up. So it is what it is. I'm a private citizen, so nobody can find me anywhere. So
we were talking before.
Well, Google can, but, that's another story.
Are you still streaming? Are you still gaming on Twitch, or is anywhere to find you? Or
yeah, I have a channel. I have a YouTube channel where I do some gaming stuff. There's some videos I posted on Bloodborne. I was pretty proud of myself at one point. I ended up conquering the game, and I had put it down for a long time, so I thought it was pretty cool because it's a Souls game. So, but yeah, TJ Tuttle.
Those are no joke. We were talking before the show when. I think it was Tom he put his rank, so we said screw it, we'll put our rank on the little placards. But and then I started thinking,
Daniel started.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, you can definitely tell what branch of service just by looking at the rank, because Air Force and Marine Corps, we go uppercase, lowercase. Army and Navy go all uppercase. So
being
when you see, it's easy to see. It's easy to. I never really realized that until just now. Okay, let's start. Let's see. I'll start off with a joke. We've already started the ball busting. I was gonna break the ice with a ball busting joke, and that is, every branch of service has their own definition when you tell somebody to secure the building. Right? Who already knows this joke? You guys?
Yeah.
All right. So
we tell it all the time.
If you tell a soldier to secure the building, they will team up, kick in the door, and clear every room and make sure there's no one in there and all the bad guys are room temperature. You tell Marines to secure the building, and they blow it the fuck up. You tell sailors to secure the building, and they tape off the urinals, and they put do not use, and then they swab it.
We strip and wax. We strip and wax it. Get it right. We strip and wax the floors.
There you go. Yep.
Get it clean.
Get it looking
right
where you can eat off the floor. And if you tell an airman to secure the building, they will freeze the price on a down payment.
Yeah, they'll freeze the market with a down payment. Yeah,
they run in and turn on the computers.
Shit.
Oh, that's even better. That
get their seat warm.
And eventually, I don't know if you guys want to start talking about it now. Like, how do you feel about Space Force? Is it necessary? An extra branch of military? The Air Force was already doing all those jobs.
Necessary. Yes, I think it's necessary.
Should it have been just part of the Air Force, maybe? Yeah.
No,
I mean, really, dude.
Yeah.
I would defend the Space Force.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
It was a good thing.
I don't know.
It was a good thing. We do need a Space Force, and we do need a Cyber Force too. I think we need a Cyber Force too.
Well, we have ITs, but man, most of them are jokes, honestly, because we all had. Jim had NMCI. I know you did. I know you had an account. I know you had to deal with those motherfuckers. They don't know their asses from a hole in the ground. Yeah, we need professionals.
Cyber Force will be totally different because right now IT, they're more technically trying to keep the network up, right? A Cyber Force will be, will be assigned to.
How about we just leave it up to the market? I mean,
no. Are you kidding me? No. The market just want to.
Well, I mean, we already contract out so much shit. Like, there's tech reps for everything. No, it's not because the government government has no, like, if you want to solve a problem, like, letting the federal government take it over is probably usually like the worst solution to that problem.
Wait, you mean like NASA putting a man on the moon before SpaceX and all of those people still scratching the back of their ass? Like NASA.
Well, I mean, if you take into account that we got the
moon in the 70s, man.
We absolutely got the best people with the best Nazis, the best we had the best Nazis working on the space program, and we got it done, bro. Like we did.
Exactly.
Like honestly, it was awesome.
The whole mindset,
like 10 smart
better,
and that should be like your like moment where something clicks, but it's like no, fuck.
No, I think
the army can get a division anywhere in the world in 3 days, man. I don't know any corporation that can move that many body and equipment and
Jim is just loving
that
this.
quick. So we do things efficiently. This whole
he
corporate
lit the
thing
fire and
do
walked
better.
away.
Yeah, because I don't buy
Well, that's what we do. We want to get a conversation going.
Yeah, I don't buy into that whole corporate mindset. Corporate do better. No.
Well, corporations should exist. I mean, people shouldn't be able to create a false legal entity, like a faux legal entity, to hide behind for when they do bad shit. Yes, so I agree with you. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. There's a break. So I want to say,
yeah, we're waiting for other people.
I was about to separate you two.
Man, Jim usually would be in there right now with like something, man. Like,
dude, I've
I
evolved
was
as a
gonna
host.
have Jim put you on
Can you
opposite
tell,
sides of the
TJ?
panel.
Since when you were a co-host, I've evolved as a host. Larry King that shit. I just sit back and yeah, let the conversation happen.
It's one of the laws of power, bro. Always say less than necessary than is necessary.
Correct.
Yeah, you know, on my channel, if somebody will say I'm talking too much and I shut up, and then everybody shuts up, and I'm like, I gave you the floor, dude.
All right, Beck. What are you going to say about Space Force?
Okay, first of all, I think the name is absolutely ridiculous and taken off of the Air Force, and it's fucking stupid, and the damn symbol looks like some Star Trek shit. So let's get that out of the way right now. I feel like you could have like picked up a book or a dictionary and like looked up, I don't know what the soul is.
I agree, because
something and came up with something better in the year of goddamn 2000.
Well, they could have said, I mean, they could have made it epic and been like Osiris or some just like one name fucking badass like thing that they could have just called it, you know? Like,
criticism.
I mean,
fucking, I don't know.
Talking about the name and the logo. Come on, man. That's not really criticism. It's necessary. We do need to.
I'm just making.
Call it the North Star Patrol. Anything is better than than Space Force. Anything. Okay, so
what would you call it? Okay, what would you call it?
Well, I'm only agreeing because I don't think they went far enough.
I'm older than all of you boys. Boys, calm down. Yeah, I think the only one that's got age on me is Jim, and maybe this guy down here. But no, seriously though, it's not that I don't think it is necessary, but the problem here is I feel like the more we move into the air and the more we move into space, there's less shit that we need in the water and on the ground. So if they cut back a little bit there, we could have a huge fucking But the problem is that we don't own space.
No, but the concern is that if enemies,
right?
The concern though is that if enemy, especially enemy nations, get control of that area.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Is why I said
we can't fight back if we don't have
The main reason for Space Force is we have assets in space we need to protect.
Yes. Right? Well, businesses have assets in space that they need to protect. Yes.
But they are American businesses, right? They need
protection. Most of them are. Yeah, most of them are.
Mining companies mostly.
Yeah, you have an army to protect your borders. To protect
I mean, most of them are telecommunications. Most of the satellites in orbit right now are telecommunications. So guaranteed.
We do have the GPS system up there that
right. There's one. There's like the ones for GPS. Go. Yeah, Jim is like.
Come on, you guys.
I want to hear from Tom. I want to hear from Tom after this.
Okay.
But can any of you all be thinking about this? And after Tom gives his views on it, can any of you all think about a duty and responsibility that the Space Force currently has that another service, namely mostly the Air Force, but every branch of service shared a lot of the responsibility, a duty and responsibility that the Space Force has right now that is new, that wasn't already covered by another force, and why did they have to break it off?
Well, it was an assumed domain of the Air Force, though. Right. It wasn't expressed. It wasn't an expressed thing. that outside the atmosphere is just
Right.
it's just understood. It was just understood, like assumed. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's the jurisdiction that's the distinction.
Yeah. And even dumb Marines, we had our own, I worked at NSA for 9 of my 21 years in the Marine Corps and at Fort Meade, Maryland. And we have a cyber department. Even the Marine, every branch service has a cyber department. And,
well, but look, hasn't the way society worked though in the past and how we've like progressed like typically has been through specialized roles and specialized labor.
Right.
Right.
That's true.
So that's what this is an attempt at doing. This is saying, hey, yeah, everybody has like freaking accountants in their branch, right? Like, but look, we have an IRS. Like, there's like we have like that's part of the problem with government is it just wants to grow, right? It never wants to like streamline or become minimalist, minimally invasive to the public. They just want to grow. That's the people want to feather their nests, and they're not gonna like vote to, just like Congress people don't vote themselves pay decreases and term limits. Bureaucrats don't want to pull back and rein in their departments.
Just like when you're doing your end of quarter, what is it? You're budgeting, for your department.
You always sue for more.
Yes, don't you? And if there's any surplus money that you haven't, you just go and
you try to get that shit. Yeah,
right?
Well, you want to get
it,
lose
right? For next quarter.
Exactly.
All right, so Jason's in here now, so we are officially overrun by soldiers. And the one airman that said he was going to come backed out at the last minute. So go figure. So
I guess where I was going with that though is that
you heard the joke.
We should want to narrow things down and make things more specialized. Is where I was going with that whole.
Yeah,
tangent.
I think we lost Thomas. I'm going to go switch to another screen and message him. Jason, tell us about yourself. It's been a while since you've been on the show.
Oh, you're muted.
He's still muted, bro. Oh, there you are.
All right, yeah. I unmuted my shit. Sorry about that. Specialist Ellis. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me close this. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, we can hear you.
1 second. I'm sorry, guys. I'm all chewed up.
That's the worst thing that happened in our lives.
There we go. How about that? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, man.
Yep. Can you hear us?
Yeah, right on. Hey, so Specialist Ellis, U.S. Army. I was Patriot. I heard somebody talking about Hawk. Hawk was a predecessor to us. That's about it.
Where can you be found, though?
I'm not really that much of a YouTube man. I've actually kind of stepped away from a lot of this shit. I'll do my own little philosophical musings and just spend a lot of time with my family and going to the gym and shit like that. So
nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah, that's kind of been my thing.
Oh, Beck, you can't have more than 6 people in a show.
Oh, you didn't pay for StreamYards, huh?
Balls.
Dude, you should have told me. I would have hosted it for you. I pay for it.
No, Richard, whoever needs to back out, let me know. So I've got Richard Suttles, the Atheist. If you can hear me, Richard, we'll get you in as soon as we can. I forgot. I use Zoom Pro usually, and you can have up to 100 people. So the most we can have in here is 6. So I apologize. And I think, Jason, you said you needed to bounce out early, or someone did. So I'm not rushing anybody, but we got Richard waiting in the background.
I need to go at 6. So if you need me, because you have more than enough Army guy. So
give me a thumbs up, Richard, if you can hang out just for a little while. We'll get you in as soon as we can. All right. So this is the first time I've ever tried this, but I'm going to try to share the screen with audio, and you guys. I think it's like maybe 7 minutes, but I'll kind of jump through it if it gets repetitive. There's something funny I found. Let's see if I can do this.
My wife went and got me some of this.
Okay, share screen, and then Chrome tab. I'm crossing my fingers that I don't have any porn up. Okay. What? midget.
Always
Asian
kill the Pornhub
amputee.
tab, bro.
Yeah. You're into that lightweight shit.
All
I
right,
ain't
tell me if
paying
you guys
for
can hear
nothing,
this.
man.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, right. I just go my 360 security by my fucking self. This is what's wrong with fucking America. Yeah. Get the fuck out of the way. No, it's okay. I got him. Oh, yeah. There it is. Yeah. There it is. Discipline your kids and I won't have it. Goddamn day to be a Marine. What are you fucking talking about? Fucking Navy sent a representative. God damn it. Get that Navy dead. Isn't she? Well over here. Isn't she a beautiful soul?
Air Force.
Wonderful. And she deserves to be happy, especially after Brad. Yeah, we told her. They're animals. I mean, they're like different species. You can't take somebody who doesn't respect anyone else and make them human. Actually, it's wasn't a Marine. Oh, the Marines. That's it. They might as well be caged animals. It's ridiculous. They brainwashing is what it is. They brainwash them. I've got a way to feed the hungry. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the name.
He saved for a reason. I knew it. He saved for a reason. I just wanted to do that.
The pirates.
Oh my God. I gotta tell you,
I don't get this one, but it's kind of funny.
Coast Guard. They're not there.
Nobody knows what the fuck the Coast Guard does. That's what that is right there.
I think there was another one I looked at. Hold on. Where am I? Okay. I think there was another one I looked at, and it showed the Space Force, and it was a guy with a tinfoil hat talking in Klingon, and he was like having a conversation.
That's so disgusting, dude. That's so disgusting.
With a baked potato.
What? That's where it starts, man. Realize that, right? That's where until you're rounded up and taken to a camp. I'm just saying.
What are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I do. Yeah, I think he does.
Where are you going with this?
It's extremely negative, and I'm just pointing out. That would be I don't know. Yeah, just like because you know that's like you're saying you're connecting things that might not seem interconnected, but you're trying to connect, like that meme or whatever that you're describing was trying to connect them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's just
if you agree with like there should be a Space Force, you must be this conspiracy theorist, and what do we think who are we characterizing as conspiracy theorists? The certain side of a political spectrum, or it's like that's what those memes try to do.
I think it's just trying to find. I mean, when someone says, what did you score on the ASFAB, or do you really eat crayons? I don't take it. I scored a 96.
Well, I mean,
on the
those
ASVAB,
are jokes.
by the way.
Yeah, it is a joke. You're right. I mean,
a Marine recruiter.
When they get
a
joke.
In Marine recruiter, if they get somebody in that scores a 96 on the ASFAB, they're pissing their pants. They don't see that very often, and which is why I was cryptology and intelligence analyst and code breaking and languages, and that's a very, very, you can imagine how small of a department that is inside the Marine Corps. It's not that big. It's mostly left up to Army and Air Force, but
you and 4 other guys, right?
Yeah, we had
pretty much.
Yeah.
Water dogs calling you a pogue, huh?
Totally pogue until I tell them how many times.
What's that, Corey Station? Is that where that's? Yeah. Did you have to go to Corey Station?
No.
Yeah, because we had.
There. That's Morse code, guys.
Oh, it's a different one.
That's a dying breed, Morse code.
Yeah.
But you know what? Some countries still use it.
Yeah, they do. They still do.
Yep.
Because we were down the street. We like dealt with a whole bunch of people, hung out with lots of people that were from Corey Station when I was in Pensacola. Those
Randy
guys are
in the comments said he scored a 98. Gosh, damn. That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? You were avionics, right, TJ? That's the second hardest job in the Navy next to nuke tech. So that takes a high ass fab too.
Well, the funny thing is, like, you don't use really any of that theory that they teach you in that like 8-month school that you go to for that shit. You learn a whole bunch of stuff like vector algebra and fucking trigonometry and dumb bunch of shit that you basically don't, because you don't go into the job and you don't start designing circuits, right? You're just basically is like, okay, is this resistor blown out? Is this this incredibly like easy component to diagnose? Is it bad? And that's all there is to it. And they teach you like so much shit that you don't need. But I guess
the ASVAB score, the ASVAB score, it pretty much depends on which branch you're going to and who's your recruiter. Because my recruiter convinced me like my high ASVAB score meant I was meant for.
Well, I was supposed to go nuke, so yeah. I mean, I'm in that same boat with that guy in '98.
He tried to get me into military police and armed combat, artillery, and tank. It wasn't until I'd say no, because I didn't even know what the what the job was supposed to match, and my AV score was way above 100, and he was still trying to pen me into, one of those combat arm jobs. So it depends on your recruiter.
I got a funny ASVAB story, Jim.
118 or something like that.
So the recruiters came to our high school because I lived out in the middle of the boonies, so I came in on the delayed entry program. And my friend wanted to go. She was like, I want to go and I want to take this ASVAB. I want to get in the Army. And I was like, dude, I'm not interested. And she was like, well, come with me because they're going to feed us all. We're going to give us like McDonald's and shit. And I was like, McDonald's? Never even had that. Right.
Dude.
So I went. And so they give us the test and I didn't care. I was drawing like a Christmas tree in the dots and Abe Lincoln's hat. And I'm not kidding. I was just drawing shit in the dots and she failed and I got a 38 and they let me in. I was like, all right. She never spoke to me again.
Damn.
31's the cutoff for the Army.
I wouldn't even try. I got a 38.
Those recruiters will mess you up. I tried to join the Air Force and I scored an 88 on my ASVAB. And then, but I put down that I had childhood asthma and I hadn't had an asthma attack in like well over 10 years by this point. And I was like 18. But because I had diagnosed as asthma, I needed a medical waiver. And so I'm waiting to hear back from this recruiter in DFW and got nothing. And I called her and like, we get no return for my calls and stuff. So then I was like, oh, well, I guess they didn't get the waiver. And then I moved to Cheyenne, and the Navy recruiter of all the other recruiters was the only one when they asked me what happened. And I told them the Air Force didn't give me a medical waiver. He goes, you mind if I look into that? He came back to me a couple of days, said they never even put in for a waiver. So that recruiter in DFW didn't, but the recruiter up in Cheyenne, Wyoming did, probably because he had to travel the whole state to meet his requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to answer Min?
Oh yeah. Min had a question up here. If you guys want to chime in on that?
Oh,
what was the question?
He wants to know about if we've ever, I guess, run into the atheists. There are no atheists in foxholes, I guess, is what he's saying.
I knew a couple atheists in the Army. I mean, I didn't know what the term meant because to me, he was just an asshole. He was just mean, and he would laugh at people that was going to church. Because when I joined, I wasn't religious, but my mom used to go to church all the time. So I was more like, I was just giving the Jehovah's Witnesses a hard time. And then when I was struggling, I started going to church just to kind of get away from the drill sergeant, and I would sleep in the back pews, right, just to kind of have them that one Sunday where the drill sergeant is not messing with you. But there was a guy in my platoon. He would just laugh at people that were going just to get away because.
So you saying that atheists are the real heroes for taking all that flack that they had to take on Sundays so that you boys could go to church and didn't have to?
I don't know why.
You're welcome.
Because his whole attitude was like, I understand being anti whatever, right? But people were trying to get away from the drill sergeant to go rest, right? To just go close their eyes and not be bothered. Why would you find that offensive?
Where?
Yeah.
Dude, we had
Yeah.
eyes on us at every fucking possible moment in a boot camp setting. Jeez, how the hell did you get away?
Yeah.
Like, there'd be no way, dude.
Yeah,
What?
I wasn't.
It'd be like Lord of the Rings,
That
where
was
the
in
freaking goblin
97.
freaking chief
Yeah.
is like, "What the hell are you two doing sitting over there?" And Sam and Frodo are like over there, like, "Please, sir."
They were
Yeah.
not allowed to go in the church and bother people. If you say you had to go to service, they didn't bother you. You were allowed
Yeah.
to go, and you get 1 hour to go to just go sleep in the back pew, which what I use it for.
While you guys were sleeping,
Yeah,
I
no.
was out running around and doing push-ups and bettering myself.
That was your
slackers.
choice, my friend.
I got
That was
a
your
few.
Oh yeah,
choice.
I got a couple
Yeah,
days. I had my wisdom teeth taken out. I got a couple of days to chill, but that's because my face was like leaking, like really bad.
Yeah,
So-
on the submarine, we had some Christians on there. I wasn't a Christian until I got to shore duty. I wasn't an atheist, but I wasn't religious. I believed in like some deistic God out there. But I
Okay.
find it strange.
Or just like a
find
nominal
it-
or cultural Christian, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe kind of like that. But I find it strange that Christians will put this out there because there's a really famous Christian that we've probably all heard, C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis fought in World War I, but
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis was an atheist when he fought in World War I, and his
Supposedly.
conversion had nothing to do with his wartime experience.
Right.
And so, yeah, I'm just like, no, you
I
got all
don't-
kinds of
Well,
brave people from all kinds of different worldviews.
Yeah, and the
look,
back-
and I understand the guy might not have been able to just articulate that very well, what his experience was, but because of that, it flags me in my brain to have a hard time buying his story that he converted from being a staunch atheist to a dyed-in-the-wool Christian.
it happened. Literally.
It happened. I'm not saying that can't happen. What I'm saying is, man, it's like when your girl like says like, if she's your girl and you're in a committed relationship, she's like, I'm going to Cancun with the girls. You're like, okay, you go to Cancun, but when you get back, your stuff will be ready for you to come get because you won't be in this relationship anymore. See what I'm saying? It's like,
No, don't see what you're saying. What's the analogy you're trying to make, dude? That's all. That's
Look,
all.
I'll be like, go to Cancun with the girls. I'm gonna go
trust,
get drunk
trust.
with
It's
the
about-
guys.
it's about
Who here
trust.
is familiar with Pat
And why
Tillman?
would that
Got
be a
trust.
problem when she come back? Her stuff be outside because she went to Cancun. How that has to do with
I mean, it's
religion?
Hey, guys, real quick.
Yeah.
Can you guys
Yeah.
hear me? Am I still audible?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you're good, Ellis.
Hey, so
like when you smell bullshit, in other words.
the question,
That's what it's about.
he was asking particularly,
And you know, I think you know that, dude. When you see
I
red
talked to-
flags, it's about the red flags you see with a story, right?
He hates
I
me.
talked
He
to-
hates
That's what
J-
it's. That's what
Jason's-
the parallel is.
What were you saying, Jason?
Okay.
I've talked to men on quite a few occasions regarding this, and I think what he's getting at is when you're in the heat of combat, you're in the actual foxhole.
Right.
What is his perspective, or what is the perspective on atheism? That trope, that classic trope. There are no atheists in foxholes.
Yeah.
One of the shining example, for one, I can't really say me because I was actually a Christian during the invasion. But I definitely became an atheist very quickly after the invasion, reflecting on the invasion. But one of the shining examples that I like to use, and this is a tribute to many atheists that have served, is Pat Tillman. I don't know if you guys know who Pat Tillman is.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, this is an atheist who was receiving something like $12 million a year from the Arizona Cardinals. And when 9/11 happened, he decided, hey, this is bullshit. I love this country. I'm going to serve it. He gave that up. He took that contract. He ripped it up. He threw it away. Pat Tillman was an atheist. He was killed in a green-on-green incident. I mean, this is a guy who, so far as we know, thought he only had one life and elected to serve other people. So when Christians run this trope about, there's no atheists in foxholes, they're full of fucking shit. And almost every combatant that I know of, Christian or not, isn't thinking about God at the moment they're in fucking contact. They're thinking about, where's the fucking enemy? How close was that to me?
Yeah.
Am I gonna die today?
Like fucking, there's about a billion other fucking things to think about other than, let me recite the Lord's Prayer or something.
Oh yeah. Yes,
So I don't mean to diminish any Christians who actually, use their faith as a I think it's very important as service members to remember that, like, it's interdenominational, it's interfaith, faith, lack of faith, individuals that serve. And I don't think any of us mean to diminish their specific belief system if they find that it gives them strength. Right. But the problem is this trope is meant to diminish many honorably serving, even those who have given their life, atheists. Wow. And I just find that unacceptable.
I mean,
So,
like Tom was saying, that is a trope. Like I said, the religion in the military is protect your battle buddy. That's the religion I remember, where you make sure the guy next to you survive or get back home.
Drink water.
It's your buddy, man.
Yeah, that's your religion.
Something.
Yeah.
So.
Let's see. I would like to. You were a female when you were active duty back. Was it a different? It wasn't an. Did you have negative experiences that we are unaware, like we're ignorant of?
Oh yeah.
Was it as bad as they say? And do you think certain services are worse in the harassment and the? I don't know.
I think it depends on where you're stationed at. That's what I think.
It's duty location.
When I first got in,
not so much service.
Perspective, okay.
Right. When I first got in, I was in West Virginia because my mom had transplanted us there when I was little, and she didn't want us growing up in the city. So I ended up at some little podunk, freaking, the barracks were like the size of your thumbnail. Like, it was a little tiny ass place. Had 3 different guys try to have sex with me. One of them walked in the bathroom and opened up the stall door, and I was taking a piss, and he just whipped it out. And I laughed because it was this big.
What the hell?
Yeah, he never spoke to me again. I'm not sure why, but it was pretty funny to me.
That's what you spread his new nickname, his new brevity name is Tom Thumb. That's pretty much what it was hard. Yeah, that was it. I just figured since he had like 5 kids that he must have good distance. But anyways, I digress. Then I moved. Then I went down to Florida, and I was stationed down there. And I came on hard times. And I walked in and told the captain I needed a full-time job. And he gave me a full-time job and said, "You can sleep here, whatever you need." And I really got to know everybody there. And I was never ever disrespected in Orlando, Florida. But in West Virginia,
you think it's gotten worse? So has it gotten worse or better? Has there been any changes since?
Damn, you're lucky. I don't know. I get disrespected all the fucking time, man. Sorry.
You think it's the same as men for women?
Go ahead, Jim. What were you saying?
I'm trying to point something out. Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel, you said, do we? No, I think men can. Okay, there's a lot of, especially in the Marine Corps. Anytime a group of men serving close tight unit, it could be a pro football team. Anytime men are in a close and shared adversity, there's going to be a lot of homoerotic ass grabbing. It's going to get, and not a lot, but some men can feel like uncomfortable in those type of situations. So I could see that would be the only analogy I would draw. Like, if that's just not your thing and it's going on all the time, all the grab ass and dumb, quasi homosexual kind of, and it's just out of tight. It happens in any tight military unit, any tight football, any sports team, prison.
Yeah. Any large group. Yeah, absolutely. But to answer your question, I never, I got along with everybody, and I've always even when I was considered female, I was kind of in between the women and the men, and I hung out with everybody. And I had never heard, besides a couple of guys that were in the Fat Boy program, I never heard of any other male, getting picked on to the point of like feeling uncomfortable or anything, except for Tom Thumb. Yeah, he got picked on a lot about that because everybody knew it, open showers. But yeah, mostly, I heard of a handful of women in West Virginia, and I never heard of anything about it in Florida. So I don't think it depends on the branch. I think it depends on where you're at and, how that place is run and the diversity that's there. Because I went from a bunch of white cishet white rednecks to a unit with blacks and Hispanics and a couple natives, and it was very diverse down there. So people they weren't nitpicking each other over how they looked or anything. Just if you were an asshole.
Shit, we did. Fuck, dude, I could tell you stories, man. We had this one dude at boot camp, man. This motherfucker would not take a shower. He was fucking fat kind of stuff, dude. But like yeah. I mean, he was like, at first he tried to freaking not shower. So our RDC, he was a signalman, right? Our chief. He was like, "Hey, y'all motherfuckers." He went to the front of the fucking compartment and started talking to the people that were like up at the front, like the A-Rock and the R-Poc and all that shit. And he was like, "Hey, y'all motherfuckers got to do something about this dude, because he's gonna get me in trouble. Because if the fucking somebody, the Divo or something comes in here from the shit, he's gonna be like, what the hell is this stinking ass motherfucker doing in here?" And so yeah, one night we threw him in there, and we're like, "Dude, you were fucking taking a shower." And that, I'm guarantee I'm not gonna go into all the gory details, but yeah, that motherfucker took a shower.
Yeah, no, I get it. We had one of those in basic, and she would not wash her ass. The drill sergeant even posted somebody at the shower door to write down whoever went in, and she still stunk. She just went in there and like rinsed off and walked back out.
Yeah.
I mean, she never had soap or anything in her hands,
Let's put it this way. We had the hose in there on that motherfucker.
We gave her a blanket party. That's exactly what the fuck we did. And that bitch started watching her ass, because what he started doing was, you guys are a team and you all should have each other's backs. And if one of you's doing something wrong, it's all y'all's fault.
Well, yeah, because you fail together, you succeed together, you fail
every
together.
Day, yeah, after he noticed how bad she got, every day for about a week and a fucking half, until we gave her a blanket party, we were up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And then he'd tell us to go to bed, and then he'd get us back up. And then he'd tell us to go to bed, and then he'd get us back up and be like, "All right, PT time." I'm like, dude, we've been doing it all night. He'd do lights out, hour and a half later, trash can and a fucking baseball bat.
Yeah, this dude ended up.
We only slept like 30-40 minutes at a time. It was just constant.
Damn, that sucks.
I think that's bad. We had a guy outside Alley Air Base. It was probably March, April. I would say like June or July of 2003. Like, we're kind of tapering off invading Iraq, and this guy, like, I don't think he baby wiped like the whole time we were there, kind of thing. And this actually occurred. But he was confronted by his squad leader and the platoon sergeant and one of the other squad sergeants. And I was sitting right there when this fucking happened. And they said, "You need to get your ass up. You need to go over to that makeshift fucking latrine, and you need to just wipe yourself off real good. Here you can use our baby wipes," that kind of thing. And no shit, he stood up. He was a saw gunner. He stood up. He grabbed his saw. He opened the feed tray. He slapped a belt in, attached a drum, closed the cover, racked it back, and pointed it at one of the sergeants. And I know that sounds like some Hollywood shit, but that is what fucking occurred.
Ooh.
God damn, dude.
Yeah, the sergeant he pointed it at was probably like 22 years old at the time. Like, I felt for the guy, because he's like one of those really young NCOs, like, probably shouldn't have been an NCO at the time, but he passed in every which way to be an NCO. So he was at least not
like a drill instructor or whatever.
Yeah, but the other two sergeants were very less than impressed. One of them was he was an old Desert Storm combat vet, ex-SF guy. And he just looked at him, and he was just like, I'm going to fucking stomp your guts in. Down. And he put it down, and then they were like, "All right, everybody else in the tent." And I was like, "All right, I can grab my 16 and my gear and go somewhere else."
Let me remove myself.
So, I mean, did they just cause his soul to like leave his body like right there in that moment, right then and there? I mean, because that's some shit that would just make somebody.
Here's the thing, and I kind of have a discomfort talking about this guy, because the rumor. And I can't get anybody from. I have like 40 fucking people from my unit that I deployed, to the invasion with, on my Facebook, and none of them know what happened to the guy. But several of them say
just disappeared from reality.
He took his own life.
Oh,
so I have like a little bit of discomfort talking about it, but that is what happened.
Hey guys, Daniel has to bounce like right now. I just want to get. I was thinking of something, and it was going to be directed at you anyway, so it's perfect timing.
No, go ahead. Whatever you want to ask me, I can answer.
That's females. You got to leave like right now.
No, I don't have to leave. My sister
Okay.
is a 6 with him, so I have to probably leave around 5:57 or something.
Okay.
I have a little time.
I'll make it quick. Let's see. Another thing, when I was active duty, I was completely oblivious. Call it just a shroud of naivety. I had no idea that there was racism in the Marine Corps. We don't even. It was taboo.
Yeah, you're
to
racist
say,
against anybody that's not green.
It was exactly. TJ knows. In the Marine Corps, you lose your actual skin color. You don't say, if you're trying to describe someone, hey, that one Marine over there, go get him. Which one? The dark green Marine or the light green Marine. You don't say the black or the white Marine. It just
Well,
doesn't
I mean,
happen.
even if you did, it wouldn't be about that. It would just be about getting somebody identified.
I thought that I did not see any incidences of racism ever. And then once I retired and I'm listening to some other stories, and they're telling me stories like, how did I not see this? And I'm not saying it was pervasive. I think the Marine Corps is significantly less racism than the general civilian population. But what were your experiences when you were in?
My experience, I can tell you right now from the get-go, but I don't know if it was a racist kind of thing or if it was a recruiter were just trying to get bodies in there. My ASVAB score was 130. Okay, I had college. My
Wait,
was
what?
really high. It was 130. Yeah, my HAB was 130.
Well, the maximum
really
is
Goes to
100.
99.
You probably mean the
99.
99 is the maximum, but there's another test that goes up to 140, and that's the DLAD. That's your language aptitude.
Right.
Yes.
At some point, they changed the qualification scores for ASVABs. I bank money on it because
it wasn't 97. It used to be the maximum you could get was 2 something, and mine was really high. And I was pretty much qualified.
Unless you know the language already.
Right. I was pretty much qualified for anything I wanted. And he pretty much trying to peg me as combat arm, right? He was trying to get me to be a rifleman, artillery, tanker, cook, whatever, right? Because he was just trying to get bodies in there, right? And I could get a bonus, but I wasn't offered any bonus. But again, I didn't really see it that the hardest time I had in the Army, believe it or not, was mostly from people making fun of my accent than people being anti-black. Because
people do that everywhere, right?
Yeah, most of my Army buddies were not racist. There was a couple of white guy from middle of the country that were just assholes in general, but I don't think they were just racist in nature. Maybe he just didn't know better. You know what I mean? But,
I don't.
But
I don't
the hardest time I
reason.
had was this guy from South Carolina. He would not get off my ass about my accent, dude. He would just ride me all the time, and he was a black guy. So, but again, like Beck was saying, I think it depended on the unit or where you're located. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This probably was a lot more racism in other units that I was not exposed to. But,
the messed up thing is it was so easy it would have been so easy for people to like pick on somebody for obvious things like, oh, hey, it's a black guy. Yeah, they don't care about that. What they cared about was, oh, you're a little short dude, or you're fucking this or that, or you got a funny looking face, dude, or you smell, man. Like it was shit like that you would get made fun of.
You do push-ups like a bitch.
Yeah, I mean it's like man shit, boys club shit.
There was one white kid in basic who kind of told me to go back where I came from. Again, I think he just didn't know better, and I almost took his soul. Okay, way before I got saved. My whole squad has to stop me. Again, I think he just didn't know better because I found out later on, like he didn't know anybody black back where he came from. You know what I mean? So he just didn't know better.
Yep. Okay, Daniel, you got to get to your appointment. You got 5 minutes. Okay, thanks for coming and. Shoot me a link of that podcast, the website that you said at the top of the show. Shoot that to me, and I'll put it in the description section.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
All right, well, take care, man.
Catch you later.
Hey guys,
peace out, man.
I looked it up real quick. If you take the paper form of the ASVAB, the highest total score is 225. Whereas the highest score on the computer
they changed it.
is 145.
Yeah, so that's different now than it was. I had to fill out a damn Scantron when you actually still had to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was doing too. I remember that.
Yeah,
dude,
I remember the Scantron.
Yeah,
and the
that's
rifle
what I'm saying
range
with the
now,
dots.
Yeah,
a perfect score on the rifle range is a 50 instead of like a 240. Did you guys do the new rifle qual that like a 50-point max?
Army does snap targets. Up to 3 from minimum of 25, which we call Fast Freddy, out to the 300. And max on that is a 40. Expert is 38 out of 40.
Oh, and the other thing, they're not using
Yeah.
iron sights anymore. You can use ACOGs now to aim in. That seems
That
like
I believe.
cheating. Yeah.
Oh,
Do
man.
what?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Damn,
So-
dude.
There's actually a joke in the veteran community. I'm so old, I used iron sights back in my day. I don't know if you guys have run into that.
Well, I'm
Back in my-
gonna tell
yeah.
you what, Ellis. If it wasn't for Fast Freddy, I got a 37 on that.
Yeah,
That
I
motherfucker
get
got
expert
me.
most of the time. The only time I didn't get expert was in basic. And okay, I'll go ahead and say it's my fault, but when you grab the upper and the lower of the weapon, and they've got like 10 millimeters of play each side,
No.
right? You're just
Yeah.
like, you're firing
But-
and you're watching the iron aperture go like this.
Yeah, you can't sight in like. Yeah, no. That's
Yeah.
The iron slams all
You
fucked
know,
up.
I
it's
remember.
Okay, I'm
I
gonna
remember
try to
doing-
put this on target.
You know what? That's my new excuse for missing the 3. That's what I'm gonna say.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
they put me
I
on the
missed
Mark
expert
19
on
range
this one.
once. They put me on the Mark
I missed
19 range once.
expert
And
on
I'm
this
firing,
one.
I get distinguished. I go back and I qual again, and somebody pulled the goddamn pin out of the left side of the tripod.
Oh, shit.
So I had to hold the weapon up like this, and I'm firing, and it's going like this the whole time. Because it's just
Yeah.
yeah. on that one pin.
What
On the pistol
dickhead.
range,
Yeah.
what were you saying, Tom?
I was saying I was doing a 9mm qual, that Beretta M9, and I missed expert by one shot because as I was doing one of the courses of fire, one of the shells didn't eject all the way, and so I did that. It stopped. I lowered it, pulled that thing back, and then wanted to get that shot off on time. So I just kind of fired, and so my grouping was all right here, except for one shot that was right center in the head. And the
You
instructor,
failed so bad
even
that you
though
just were awesome. That's crazy, dude.
yeah, well,
You
he
failed so
he
hard that you
decided
just
that
did it awesomely.
well, and it should have, even there, it should have counted. But he decided that I did that on purpose because it was right dead center of the head.
That's
That
what
he
I
just
figured.
didn't count that shot. So one
maybe-
shot away from fire an expert.
The
Well,
key range
damn.
of a
And
pistol
you
is
guys talking about, well, you guys with all your gun talk, like, hey, I have I have a piece too, and I'm a 2A supporter and everything, but it's like, Jim can attest to this. Like, the funniest shit was, okay, so like they would have these little things on their uniforms that would say what they were: expert, marksman, or sharpshooter, right? Expert was the highest you could go in the Marine Corps. It's the opposite way, I guess, for the Army, probably.
No, Army is marksman, sharpshooter, expert.
Okay, expert is still the highest then.
Yes.
So yeah, I had my first wife was a Marine, and she shot expert on every. She was fucking good at shooting. And the funniest shit would be to be out with our friends. Some of her friends were Marines, of course, because she was a Marine, and they would have the pizza box on their uniform, which is the what is that? The sharpshooter one, which is the lowest. Marksman. It was the marksman.
Yeah.
They called it the pizza box because it was really kind of a badge of shame.
It's a square target.
To have it. It's a square target, right? And she's sitting there with her cross mops, and it's no big deal. Like, hey, my wife was like way better shot than you do, apparently. Like, what's up? And so that's one of the worst things you can make fun of a Marine for, as Jim.
Oh God, yeah. And we have a 500-yard line, so it's super difficult. But they're using M4s now instead of M16, A4s even. Anyway, I want to get Richard in here, and Richard, you're mute. Oh, there you go. Tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I was in the Marines for 10 years. I work in Homeland Security now and counterterrorism. I'm an atheist of sorts. I'm not a really strong atheist, but that's why I'm called the Faithiest Atheist on my Facebook page.
Same here. I'm not down with all the woke shit, so I'm kind of in between. I'm a walker between. I'm a minority within a minority. I think you probably are too.
I think that's a good spot.
Richard, you probably heard this one before. You know how to tell if someone is a vegetarian, a Marine, or an atheist? Just wait around 2 minutes and they'll tell you.
They'll tell you.
They'll tell you.
I'm all three, so every conversation starts off with one of them.
Every conversation is like Thanksgiving dinner with your in-laws. Like, it's like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
There's a movie called.
You have a. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say there's a movie called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and at some point in that movie, somebody says that uncertainty is the way to be. Someone's telling him that it's everybody's shooting for certainty, and he's like, "No, ma'am, uncertainty is what you're shooting for." And I think that's kind of true.
And you have a YouTube channel. I think I put it in the description section.
Although I do have a YouTube channel, I haven't made any content. I just and I will one day, but I just haven't.
Awesome. Well,
everything's on Facebook. I don't really have time to make videos and stuff, so I'm just on Facebook surfing and talking crap.
Okay, in the private chat about 15 minutes ago, I asked you guys to come up with 1 or 2 funny or interesting stories from your time in active duty. And
that's easy.
But I'm going to start in reverse order. I'll start with Jason. He and I don't know. I can't speak for you, the rest of y'all, but he and I saw some shit, and sometimes we confide in each other, and so feel free to unload if you want to tell us some gruesome stuff or funny stuff. It doesn't matter.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got 2 that are completely true that are fucking mind blowers. One is funny, the other one will
get you demonetized.
Up in the fetal position a little bit.
It'll definitely get you demonetized then.
Yeah,
as much as you've been dropping the F-bomb, TJ, this is not going to get
I waited.
Anyway.
Well, I did wait the 15 minutes or whatever before I started doing anything crazy.
I have no intention of keeping this one monetized. All right.
Sorry. See, Jim makes a lot more money without me on the show, so it was a good thing.
Yeah, probably me too.
All right, Jason, give us a story.
Sorry.
Okay, which story we want? We want funny, or we want
the family-friendly one, man?
Let's see.
Okay.
Do a funny one.
All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. Cool. We'll do that then. All right. So it's March 20th, April 1st, somewhere in there. We're actually sitting at the DMZ, right below Safwan, right? And there's a guy in the unit, big swole motherfucker, right? I'm talking. Big dude, black guy, right? But as gay as the day is long, right? Guy, he's the kind of guy you look at, you'd be like, hey, man, what's going on over specialist?
So he's straight at night?
No, well, rumor is he was bi, and I kind of think he leaned towards bi, but I think he was like 90% men.
I stand corrected. You were accurate in what you said.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue. Carry on.
So anyways, he's the kind of guy you walk up to and you'd be like, dude, that is a big son of a bitch. But, hey, specialist, how you doing? And no shit, he turn around and he look at you and he go, I'm super. How are you doing today? So you're just like, oh. And this is still during, DADT, right? Don't ask, don't tell. So nobody's asking, he ain't telling, and I just try to ignore his midnight shenanigans, right? But turns out he gets assigned to be TC in my truck. This is a bit of a doozy story, but it is funny. So we're getting ready to cross over the DMZ, which is that triple tank berm right into Safwan, which is the farthest southern town onto MSR Tampa to head up north towards Baghdad. And so big gay Grover, we'll call him Big Gay Grover, right? He hops in the TC seat, the passenger seat of my 5-ton, right? So I, like everybody else, am sitting there at the DMZ going, okay, we're getting ready to go across this shit. Like, I'm getting my mindset straight, right? But we're getting ready to cross the DMZ, right? Everything over there ostensibly wants to fucking kill us. So, I got my 16 right here in the little rack in the 5-ton. I'm sitting in the seat and I'm just like, all right, all right. And first sergeant's going around, hey, hydrate, handing out waters and shit. Drink water. You don't know if we're going to be able to drink water when we get over there. Make sure you're well hydrated. Oh, roger that, top. So I'm sucking down those big bottles of, like, the Iraqi water or whatever, the Kuwaiti water with the Arabic on it. So I finished one of those off, and, word comes up, top, move out, right? And I got Big Gay Grover, but he looks the business. He's got the front window flipped up, and he's got the saw out on the deck on the bipod. Right. And he's just kind of casually leaning on it like this. Right. So I'm like, all right. So he and I hadn't touched much or talked much, even though we were in the same platoon. Right. So we start hauling ass military speed down MSR Tampa. Right. This is going to be great because we're on video. So We get into SAF 1, we slow down a little bit, and all the bouncing, you know, those 5-ton seats with the fucking springs in them, you know?
Yeah.
I'm fucking bouncing in this shit, and it's just doing a number on my bladder, right? So I'm like, okay, I've got to piss. So dude's sitting next to me, right? And my immediate thought is, right, okay, is this guy going to look at my dick? So
You're such a straight dude, Jason.
It is. And it's funny because, like, I don't know if you guys were there for any of it, but like a lot of civilians were fleeing, you know, civilians. They would be walking down the shoulder of the road. Now I got to tell you, when it came to Grover, he was on the 249. And if he didn't like the way they looked, that 249 would come off the deck out the side of the window, and he'd be like, back the fuck off, back the fuck. Well, more gay than that. Back the fuck off, right? And so I fucking, it's not like I didn't trust the guy to do his job. He seemed to do his job very well. And in fact, before we get to the end of this story, I'll have you know he actually did save my life. So good soldier, right? So it's so funny because he's sitting there, he's on the saw like this, and he's just like fucking looking at anything that looks suspicious, right? He's not even looking at me. I'm driving, and I look down like this at the water bottle the empty one rolling around on the floor in between the two seats, right? And I'm thinking in my head, how the hell am I going to get my unit out of my blouse? And then I got to get, or out of my pants, and then I got to get the fucking cap off, right? Like I'm thinking of the logistics of this, right? Fuck. I look over at him, right? I'm fucking driving. Without even looking at me, he goes, do you have to pee? Yeah, man, I really gotta fucking go. And it was funny because he didn't even look at me. He just kind of leaned to a solid with me where he goes, don't even worry about it. You're totally not my type. I was like, okay. So I reached down, I grabbed this fucking water bottle, and I twist off the top right, and I'm one hand on the fucking wheel, like I'm undoing the button with my thumb and my finger like this, right? And I twisted the cap off like this with my finger, and I managed to line everything up. Oh, God. So I fill half this water bottle, right? Put the cap back on it, put it on the floor, and I'm grateful that I'm not this dude's type, right? So we roll on a little bit down the road, and we get to Safwan. We slow down, and I'm getting tired of shit as this clear fucking bottle of piss rolling around on the floor of the cab.
Oh, no.
Right? Now, as anybody knows, who especially was passing through those areas circa 2003, the kids used to line up all over the side of the fucking road, right? And that's because every Joe was reaching in, grabbing their Skittles or whatever out of their MRE and fucking,
yep.
We have a heart still, right? I mean, we're human beings. So I wasn't thinking about that at first. I just wanted the bottle of piss out of my fucking truck, right? So I reached down and I grabbed this bottle of piss. Fucking. And I throw it, right? And when I throw it out of this truck, I see this group of like 5 kids go sprinting in their flip-flops towards this bottle, right? And we're literally creepy crawling because nobody wants to be the one who ran over. I guess nobody wants to be the one to run over a kid, right? You know, or civilians. You know, U.S. Army runs over civilians in north or southern Iraqi village or whatever.
Or passes out urine.
Yeah. So
here, have some piss, kids.
Ambassador. So I throw this shit out, and it's so funny because the kids are fighting for it, right? And then one of them, and I just catch this, and you know, the 5 tons got the mirror way out to the side, and I look out, and I'm like, oh God, no, don't fucking do it. And sure enough, he just starts fucking spitting and vomiting everywhere. And that's the last I saw that poor kid. I beat another one in the face with some Skittles that were rock hard from the MRE later. And then he got his ass beat by other kids trying to get the Skittles from him.
You know, that's what that one kid, that's what he gets for being greedy and not like saying, here, man, you take a sip first. I'm just saying.
No. That kid got away with it. Like he got there before they did. and they didn't contest him. But when I threw the Skittles out, that was
Yeah,
late.
no, I'm just saying that's why he ended up with a mouthful of piss. He was being selfish.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess. But yeah, that's one of my stories.
That's funny. Tom, do you have a story for us?
Yeah. Yeah. Then we'd go down on the submarine, and like that's just a different environment. Like everything's metal, and you got like just bolts hanging down. You got low head. I'm 5'6", so I even bumped my head a few times at 5'6". On there. So guys that were taller bump it all the time, and we didn't have anything to do while we were underwater for 3 months at a time. So we basically messed with each other for 3 months. And so we had this one guy. His thing. He wanted to scare someone else, and so the guy's standing in this watch station. And the way it was kind of like there was a little doorway, and he's like in this little, more or less, a room. So the guy sneaks up there, and he goes to jump in and scare him. And when he did, he caught a bolt like right in the head and just dropped straight to the floor. And the first thing the other guy says to him, his last name was Bert. The guy goes, "Bert, stop bleeding." like you can do that. So
you don't have my permission to die yet.
Yeah, pretty much. So we go and get the corpsman, and the corpsman takes him back to the office, which was like just 30 feet down the passageway there. And he goes in, and they stitch him up. Had to get stitches in his head. And he comes out and walks back, and they got that area taped off, but the little duct tape body outline like it was a crime scene. They're not letting anybody in there. So yeah,
right.
Like that was what we did to pass the time on submarines.
I gotta go next because I'm dying for a smoke. I'm freaking nicking out, so I gotta go next.
It, TJ.
Oh, and I also wanted to say what's up to True and to Randy because they said hi to me in the chat, and I didn't get to type anything back.
This is weird. Yeah, go first, TJ. Go ahead.
Okay, because I'm gonna like dip out for a second for like 5 minutes after this. So my my stories are more like just dumb shit that I got into while I was in the Navy, more than just like, hey, there's this long build up to this like really funny punchline. It's more just like, God, I can't believe I did some of that shit, and I guess one of the ones the best ones to like start with, since this is, sort of like a religiously themed show, is that, so when my first wife, I told you guys my first wife was in the Marine Corps, and she was in the Marine Corps, and she was there with me in Pensacola, Florida, which is where we went. People that did my job, that's where they went to learn the job, basically. And so when you get done with that, it's like you go 2 months to a common like a basic electronics course, and then you do 6 months learning like theory, like all the stuff that I told you earlier that's basically useless after you get to your job. So when you're done with that 8 months, you got about a year that you're going to spend there total. So those, whatever, like some people only go to Common Core and then like I level or O level, which is like you learn how to swap boxes out and they're done. So they sit there for a whole long length of time, and they have to find stuff to do, and they have to work jobs and shit other places. People that do eye level work, like we have about 3 or 4 months that we got to kill before we can get our orders. So one of those things was you could work for the chaplain's office. So this is where the religion comes in. We worked for an RP1, me and my new wife. Basically, she was in the Marine Corps. She was getting processed out on a medical. I was going on to Virginia Beach, and she would go with me after that. But the thing, and so the shit that was like, I can't believe we did that was, we were really good friends with the RP, and he pretty much let us have the keys to the fucking chapel, because we would go in there and do work and stuff at night. We would clean it up, or we would set up for whatever presentation they had. Yeah, like, so on my honeymoon, my honeymoon was basically coming back from the courthouse in Pensacola, and consummating my marriage in a very probably inappropriate place in the chapel.
Nice.
Hey, those altars are strong, man.
Those altars are
Make
real
them like they
strong,
do our kitchen
and so
table.
are some of the. Oh wait, no, I can't say that part. But yeah, do what you will with that. Let your imagination go with that. And with that, I'll leave you with that. And that's
All
kind
right.
of a funny,
Go
titillating story. And you guys got it from here. I got 5 minutes. I'll be back.
All right, TJ. Oh, Richard.
You know, I've been racking my brain for something that was really funny. But I think the thing that really affected me most, like in terms of faith and atheism and all that, happened in Iraq. And it was because we met a Iraqi police guy who had been really well educated. He had been part of a really wealthy family, and he was trying to, make his country better. He spoke perfect English, and he was able to interact really well with the Iraqis and then with us. And I was just really, it was the first time I had met somebody who was Muslim, but the way he described it was, it wasn't the first Muslim that I met, but it was the first one who didn't talk about it as if it had to be true. He said, I'm Muslim because I was raised that way. And he said, so that's all I know, but that's, I don't necessarily think that's the way it is. And that really kind of affected me. I was raised Christian. And so I said, it really helped me understand that a lot of my language and how I think was Christian stuff. And so he was talking that way about Islam, and we were surrounded by a lot of people who are fierce Muslims. And the fact that he felt confident enough to talk like that, and we worked together for months, he just became really good friends with us, and that really kind of rubbed off on me. So it wasn't really a super hysterical story, but it was just in keeping with this theme of religion and atheism, and especially a guy who was in Iraq, who was in the military and trying to make his country better, a lot like us. He just happened to be raised Muslim, and he was kind of educated out of the sense of you have to be this way or else. He had kind of been educated beyond that. And so that testimony really kind of helped me get to where I am now. That's it.
Rock on.
I never saw any prejudice against believers or non-believers. I'm a cradle atheist. I was an open atheist, and I reached, ops chief. I was company first sergeant, and my Marines all knew I was atheist. And my superiors, my CO, I never got. There was no sign of prejudice. I'm sure that's not the case for some people, but I got pretty lucky. B, do you have a story?
The first thing I thought of is it's a little bit of a karma getting you back kind of thing, scaring the shit out of you. So when I was in middle school, I went to school with this lady, this chick named Sarah Payne. And Sarah and I were the biggest badasses in the school, and everybody was trying to pin us against each other. And we ended up eventually fighting one day after school. We beat the snot out of each other. Like, we were black and blue. It was like a 20-minute fight. And anybody that's been in a fist fight, that's a long fist fight. Like, we were just done. So fast forward years later, and by the way, her dad was in the Army. So fast forward years later, and we were at this place called Camp Kid, and I was in an engineering unit, and we went to repair a bunch of stuff and, fix shit that was wrong in it and everything. And they sent us out there to help the state basically with this place. So we get done. We were there for 2 weeks and change, and we get done, and they're like, okay, well, tomorrow, this major's going to come over and he's going to inspect it. And so the admin lady had to go somewhere. So they were like, hey, Madsen, go ahead and jump up front and just watch the desk and just watch for that major to come in. I'm like, yes, sir. No problem. So I'm sitting there and I'm chilling and I'm waiting. It's like 2 hours. Nothing happens. Finally, door opens. I knew it was the major because everybody else was coming in from the back door. Everybody else was out back. So I popped up, and I swear to God, that's his name, Major Payne. His name was Major Payne. And Major Payne walks in, and I'm just standing there at a position of attention. My eyes just do like this. And then I kind of relax because I'm trying to act cool, right? And I said, welcome, Major Payne. I said, how are you today, sir? And he's like, how are you, Madsen? And I said, I'm fine, sir. How are you? He said, I'm well. I said, how's Sarah? He said, she's doing good. She's in the Army as well. I said, good. Glad to hear it. And all I could think was the whole time is, we're fucked. We're never going to pass this inspection. The first motherfucker he sees is me, who beat the snot out of his baby girl. So, but actually, he gave us high marks, and he came back around before he left. He said, "Hold on, I gotta stop in," and told my first sergeant. And the first sergeant walked in with him, and he shook my hand and told me we were doing a good job, and he was proud of me, and despite all the bullshit. So made me feel good about it, like I'm doing something right with my life. So,
Awesome.
but it was scary for a minute.
I'll open it up to the panel for more stories, but I got 4 short ones. I'm going to try to make them just 4 shotgun blast stories. First one is Captain Miller. She was our CO commanding officer down in Guantanamo Bay, and she wasn't super attractive, right? We always caught her coming out of the infantry barracks doing the walk of shame too with enlisted folks. So people didn't really think much of her to begin with. Because you're not supposed to fraternize for that reason only. But yeah. And so she had kind of this longish face, and Corporal Roy, she was in the office, and he said, "Good morning, ma'am. Why the long face?" She was in kind of a bad mood. Oh God. We all tried to keep our bearing, but holy shit. And I don't think he realized what he said, but we lost it. Okay, second one, another Corporal Roy story. I think he made sergeant of it. He was a bigger dude. He was always pushing his weight maximum. So we're at PT, physical training. I'll try to keep the acronyms so people understand in the live chat. We're getting ready for PT, physical training, and so we're doing all our calisthenics and stretching. So we're in the middle we're in this big circle. We're doing our stretching. Our legs are like this. They're out like this. We're sitting on the deck with our legs out, and we're pushing ourselves forward, right? And I don't know if you know, but Marines wear these like really thin green. They're called silkies. Our PT shorts. They don't really leave a lot to the imagination, right? No. And Roy always had his nuts hanging out. Yeah, they were just. And it was Corporal Lamb was across on the other side of the circle from him. And while we're all stretching, it was real quiet. And she goes, "Corporal Roy, your balls are hanging again." And he's just like, "Oh, sorry." I thought that was funny. And the third one is,
oh, sorry.
Oh, God. The third one is I was at language school. It's 8 hours a day. No, 10 hours a day of language training. Whatever language you're learning, they just shove it in your brain, right? And so, I mean, you're dreaming in whatever language. It's tougher than it sounds, but it's in Monterey, California. You can't really complain much. But we had different classrooms, and the Marine had a classroom, and the Army classrooms were across the hall. We would take our little 10-minute break every so often, and we'd all take turns like bringing in some ghee dunk. Ghee dunk is like goodies or snacks or candy or whatever, just for the breaks. So this one soldier from across the hall, their break, he'd come over and pretend to chit chat with us, but he was scamming all our ghee dunk, right? And me and this other guy we were getting pissed. So we went and we baked brownies, and 2 of them had between the 2, it was a plate of brownies, but we made sure the 2 of them didn't get eaten. And so they sat there on the plate, and between both of those brownies, it was an entire box of chocolate flavored X-Lax in there. And he scammed both of them. And literally less than an hour later, he was in the infirmary, and the colonel, and I'm standing in front of me and the other guy we did it with, standing in front of the colonel's desk and having to explain ourselves. And we were this close to NJP, non-judicial punishment. It means you could lose rank. And I got damn lucky I didn't lose rank. Okay, last one. Staff Sergeant Bland, he was one of 31 Marines that died in that helicopter incident in Al Rupa in 2005.
Oh shit!
And we just went and visited his grave up in Wyoming this last summer. I served with him as a drill instructor. We were on the same team at one time. Drill instructors, it's usually 3 or 4 Marines, that run up to 92 recruits in a platoon. So we were on the same team one cycle for a 3-month cycle, and the guy never smiled. He was stoic as fuck. He was all business, even off duty. He'd come over to the house and we'd barbecue and stuff. And he really didn't make jokes. I mean, he's a great guy to be around, but he just was stoic. And he never would smile. He never lost his bearing. Sometimes, we wear that. You see that behind me, the campaign cover. So if a recruit does something dumb, that thing's big enough you can just look down and they can't see your face, and you can chuckle a little bit, and then you keep your bearing. You don't want them to see you smile, or to any sign that you're human.
Yeah.
So me and one of the other guys, Sonsini, that was on my team, we were like, we had a plan. We were gonna make Bland smile just this one day. And so Bland's in the duty hut. We're out with the pigs, fucking going nuts on them, right? And so we'd get this one dorky kid come up, and we had him all set up. We put his cover on like this, right? And now there's a window in the duty hut, and it's just blinds. And so Sonsini set him up, put his hands on his hip like Bob's Big Boy, and he was like this in front of the window, right? Can you see me? And then I ran into the other. I was like, Bland, the fucking kids are out of control. You got to come out here and help us. And I knew what he was going to do. He was going to not come out because me and Sonsini should be able to take it. So he went over to the blinds and pulled him, and it's like literally 3 inches from his face. This fucking kid going, and we finally got him to break down laughing. That was. That's all my funny ones. And the rest are grotesque and gruesome, and I don't even know if I want to go there. But if the live chat wants to hear some fucked up ones, I got those too.
I got a good, like, heartfelt one, but because, you know, he was talking about how Richard was talking about how that had an effect on him. And it made me think about, you're talking about basic and boot camp and stuff. So when I went to basic training, I left 2 months after my mom had died. So I was pretty fucked up. And so I go into the military, like, with my head jacked. I don't know what the fuck I don't know my ass from the hole ground. I don't know what my name is. I'm mad at the fucking world. And I just took all that anger and I just put it into the Army. Like, I was like, I'm going to do the most amount of push-ups. I'm going to do the most amount of sit-ups. I'm just going to be the best fucking soldier. You know, like, that's what I did with it. And so part of the way through, we used to go running around. We had an empty parking lot. It was just filled with grass. Nobody ever used it. It was old as fuck. So we'd all run around it in the evenings before lights out. And there was this chick from the other platoon, and she was always running. So we ended up, thanks, Esther. Love you. So I ended up meeting this chick. She was like 6'4", black chick, big arms. She was all fucking muscle. And so I was like, she was all about working out too. And she's like, well, let's do this together. And I was like, all right. So, you know, we count push-ups and we do competition with that and all that shit. Well, it was raining one night. So she was like, well, come on into my barracks and we'll just do them in there. I was like, all right, cool. So I go in there and someone saw me go in and someone went and got the drill sergeant. And the drill sergeant decided he was going to fucking teach me a lesson. So he came in there, yelled at me, screamed at me going across the hallway to our barracks. I was a piece of shit. I was a fucking traitor. So he already had all my shit out of my locker. I didn't know. And it was sitting by the door and he goes, you're going fucking home. We don't have traitors in the Army. So there was a picture of my mom on top of my ruck and he took it, he threw it out into the breezeway, into the rain. And I just ran to the side and I tried to grab that picture and I saw that picture just go, went right down in the rain. I was down those fucking, I was going down like 3 or 4 stairs at a time. I don't know how I didn't fucking kill myself. Ran down both sets of steps, ran out there, grabbed my shit, grabbed that picture, put it up underneath my shirt, dried it off and everything. And I set it down and I pointed up at him and I said, you motherfucker. And he looked at me like, what the fuck? And I started running up those stairs. Well, there's these 2 black chips coming down the stairs at the same time. You know, it's dark out. It's like, I don't know, 8:30 at night or something. And he goes, stop her. These big black chicks tried to grab me. I fucking fought my way through. And by the time I got past them, that motherfucker was in the barracks. I heard the chain on the door and he popped the lock. Like, I scared the fuck out of him. So it was good revenge. So fast forward to, they make me go down and sit in the first sergeant's office overnight. Now you're going home, take your shit and go sit in the first. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying not to doze off. And the guy doing the night shit the night guard was fucking, you awake? And I'm like, yeah, man, Jesus fucking Christ, leave me alone, you know? So finally, the other drill sergeant Owsley comes down and he goes, first sergeant comes in, he goes, what are you doing? I said, drill sergeant Harper said he was going to send me home. He's like, fuck that, get your ass back upstairs. You got PT in a minute. And I was like, yes, first sergeant. So I grabbed my shit and ran back upstairs. And drill sergeant Owsley caught me and he brought me in there. And he's like, what's going on with you, man? So I sat down. I just fucking bawled my eyes out. That man was the best support system I had the entire time. He was amazing. He was strong. He was unwavering. He didn't take any shit, but he fucking cared about his fucking soldiers, and he was a really good man. And since then, I've tried to find him. He's probably, I was like 18, he was like 46. He's probably dead by now, but I did make a couple efforts throughout that time to try to find him. Last bit of the story, we get done with AIT. Everybody goes out and parties. Everybody gets a hotel room. Everybody gets drunk before they send you off to your fucking shit ass job, right? So we're all getting drunk and everything, and there's that fucking drill sergeant threw my mom's picture in the fucking ring, and he's hanging out and he's flirting with all the girls and blah 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 blah, trying to get laid because now it's not a fucking conflict of interest anymore, right? And so finally, I was drunk as fuck, and at the party, I was like, I'm going to my room. And him and Drill Sergeant Rodriguez, this dude was like 4'9", and he had like arms the size of like a 6'5" man's leg. He was fucking huge. He was just wide. And so we're walking up there, and they said, well, we're going to walk you to your room. And I was like, all right, whatever. I was just drunk. I just want to fucking go to bed. So I walk up there and, open the door to the fucking hotel room. And that dude tried to fucking kiss me. The guy that threw my mom's fucking picture in the water. I grabbed him by the throat, I grabbed him by the nuts, and I pushed him up against the wall. And I said, look here, motherfucker, game over. I said, if you ever fucking come near me again, these will be ripped all the way off. And I just held onto his neck, and I slowly pulled him up. He came off the wall, and he was just backing away like, and he walked out of the room, and I slammed the fucking door in his face, and I think I hit him in the nose. So I got revenge on that bastard.
Jesus.
And Drill Sergeant Rodriguez the whole time's going, dude, Jeff, no, Jeff. Oh, man. Oh, Jeff, you fucked up, man. Oh, dude, you pissed Madsen off. I told you not to try that shit, bro. It was great.
Yeah.
But it was it really was. They really straightened me out and got my head on straight. And I probably would have, honestly, I would have committed suicide if I hadn't been in the Army and they hadn't done what they did for me. So it was very important to me.
Do you guys, since you've been out, are there any old habits that you can't break? My big one is I still think in 24-hour time. And my wife and I've been married. We've been married since I was a young sergeant. So most of my career I've been married to her. And since then, and even to this day, she'll be like, what time are we leaving? I'd be like, I don't know, 16:30 or so. And she's like, what's that? I'm 25 years later, 4:30 p.m. I have to do the math in my head because I can't not think in 24-hour time. Do you all have habits that you just can't shake from the military?
Who wants to go first? Sir and ma'am. Those are mine.
Well,
call everybody sir and ma'am.
Yeah.
If they are older than me or they're in a higher position than me, automatically sir and ma'am. They go, you don't have to ma'am me. And I'm like, I had a really strict mom and I was in the military. And they're like, oh, you're forgiven. It's stuck. I can't stop doing it.
Are you guys early to everything still? Do you get like 15 minutes before your 15 minutes?
I told myself I was going to quit that shit, and I did.
I always know that I should be there early, but whether or not it actually works out like that.
Dude, that whole hurry up and wait bullshit, I got out. I was like, listen, I'm going to not do that anymore.
Right. I know. I'm like, no, like I'll just be on time with everybody else. How about that? Like,
yeah, I don't know if it was like just a factor of me, but dude, like I swear to God, every day for me, it was something about hurrying up and waiting somewhere.
No, dude, that's the Army, man. I remember they took us on like some odd miles of march. I don't know, 12, 14 mile march. And then towards the end, they're like, come on, we got to hurry. Double time. So for like the last mile and a half, 2 miles, we're double time and all the way down. And we're basically just fucking running, and it's mud and there's grass and we're sliding. And by the time we get there, we're all like, because it's so fucking hard to run through that shit. And we get there and they're like, at ease, everybody just go hang out. Yeah. We'll be ready in about 2 hours. Yeah. The fuck did we run for? I could have walked at grandma's pace and got there in time.
Yeah, in the Navy, man, having to just sit around and wait to be told to go home. Like we'd finish all our maintenance, and then it's like, all right, well, everybody in the conference room, and I guess we'll just hang out in the conference room until we get word from headquarters that we can close up shop today.
Like, every once in a while, you get a really cool NCO. I had one. It was actually nice when I had the old commo guy. Man, I still love to this day. Wonderful man. He was my first squad leader. Actually, he was a staff sergeant. But like he really cared about us, and we cut no shit. Like when we had something to do, But the best thing about him was like he would look around and he'd be like, all right, today's a bullshit day. Go to your room and play video games. And I was like, all right, I guess that's what I'll do. But
And where were you stationed?
Oh,
I
I
think
was,
a lot of people would want to know, right?
well, at that point, I mean, I've got so many stories about that place, one including an IG investigation I started and I won, by the way. But you were talking about small posts, and I identified with that because I don't know what it is, but especially in the Army, like the more detached and remote the post is, it has like more of a propensity to be all jacked up. Like it's
I agree.
I don't
Because there's
know
nobody
why.
there to watch him, man.
As I say,
There's nobody there to watch him, and
There's
then
no neighboring major command element to keep them in check, I think is what it is.
right, the captain's not paying attention. The lieutenant's new, and he's a butterbar and has no clue what the fuck he's doing. And the first sergeant's like, "Man, I've been doing this for 30 fucking years. I just don't care anymore."
Yeah, when
and
I
that's where it was. What I was at.
They actually told me. They said, "Listen, we've received 40 reports this year, and I was actually involved in what was called a sensing session, which is where they bring in a bunch of lower enlisted, and they basically ask them what's going on this post and why are we receiving so many complaints." Because command is always going to try to pass it off as peachy keen, always.
Oh yeah,
it's just in their interest. But yeah, it was crazy. But when you do get that good NCO, man, that's
NCO's non-commissioned officer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, non-commissioned officer. Correct.
It's one step before you get butterbar.
They were asking in the chat. That's one reason. Yeah, I was an NCO.
All right, go around the horn. Some of the beautiful places you've seen while you were in.
Oh man,
me first.
Go ahead, Richard.
I spent most of my career at Kitsap County, across the Puget Sound from Seattle, and like giant, just big, huge pine trees, and underneath like ferns. I mean, literally looked like. I remember walking around in there like, man, I'm on the moon of Endor or something like that. It kind of looked like that with the way those woods were. Those trees were so big, and so I didn't really get stationed a lot of places. But man, that place, especially now, it was cloudy 9 months out of the year, but during the summer when that sun come out and then you'd get in those woods, it was pretty up there.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there.
I'm typing. You guys just go ahead one at a time. I got a few more questions too.
You want me to go next about the best looking place I was stationed?
Sure.
Budapest. I think I spent two of my 10 years like living in opulence, working at the American Embassy, and we had a house over on the Buda side, which had been a former dungeon, but it looked like a palace. So I basically lived at the top floor of a palace, overlooking the Danube for 2 years. Just a gorgeous city, at least from that view.
Man, that's
So
a rough
were you an
time in,
officer
man.
or
I'm
an
sorry about
MP or
that.
something?
What's that?
Were you an officer or an MP or something?
I was a staff sergeant.
Oh, okay.
So Marine Security Guard it's a program that aligns with the State Department where we guard the embassies, and so Budapest was one of my embassies.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Cool.
Okay, I guess I'll go then. Two
Yeah,
places.
man.
One, I used to run through the Schwarzwald, Black Forest, which is just beautiful, especially like when the snow's falling, and it's lightly covered on the ground and there's just black tree trunks everywhere. They're all evenly spaced out. Had a first sergeant who used to love to go on what he called polar bear runs, which is where you take it all the way down into your PT shorts and your PT t-shirt, and that's it. And you're running in, 12-degree weather. And,
Edelweiss is playing in the background. And
no, seriously. And the other one would be beauty in how it affected me personally. St. Mary Glees, Normandy, and Utah Beach. I don't know if you guys have ever been there and seen the cemetery there, but I was part of VIP escort for the 60th anniversary of Normandy in June of 2004. And it's like just the little towns and everything. And we actually set up camp right on the beach, on Utah Beach. So we were doing PT. And I think one of the most beautiful memories I have is running down Utah Beach, considering the amount of men that died there, you know, trying to take that. It was just like an amazing feeling of like,
Did you feel it? Yeah.
reverence, like reverence, I think would be the way to put it. So yeah, it's just stunning.
My top three are third place is the rainforest in Panama near the base at Colón, Panama. And the second is the gosh, when I was stationed in Stuttgart, Germany, I went down to Austria. What do they call the mountains there in Austria? Not Alps. Is it the Alps?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's Alps.
That's the Alps, I believe.
Went snowboarding up there. That was damn beautiful. And
Right.
number one, and I tell people this, and I was in 43 countries while I was active duty, either stationed or going there, right? 43 countries. And the number one most beautiful place I've seen while I was active duty, and people just think I'm damn crazy, is Chattanooga, Tennessee. I lost my mind. I broke down crying. The sun was coming up. It was kind of foggy, and that Lookout Mountain. Anyone that lives in, I think that's Western Tennessee, that's just damn.
Yeah.
It took my breath away.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful there. It really is. Yeah.
Was that everybody?
so-
Because I have another question.
I
I didn't get
don't-
outside the United States, so I don't have anything
I was
to
gonna
say.
say I
but
never left the U.S., but actually that
neither.
first, the first place I was stationed at with the National Guard, it was in a valley in the middle of West Virginia, and it was in the middle of nowhere, and it was fucking beautiful out there. Like it was a lot of untouched land around us, so it was just in this beautiful valley. And like you're saying, we'd be out fucking doing PT or something, and that sun would come up, and it's fucking amazing.
Reflecting off of everything and illuminating
fuck
everything. Yeah, I know what
Oh
you
yeah.
mean.
Coming right through the pine trees. Yep.
You're the hardest school you had to attend, either mentally, emotionally, or physically. The hardest schools. Hit it.
I think I already answered that.
Yeah, I
Camp
told
was
you guys
very
I had to learn like vector algebra and trig and shit like that. So yeah, A school for eye level AT was pretty decent. I mean, it was like, yeah, I had to pay attention. I couldn't
you go to
just fuck
Millington?
around.
Were you in Millington when you went to school for?
No, they had closed down Millington by that time. I went to Pensacola because I started in 2002 is when I joined. So
I see.
I think they had closed that back down in like probably 99, 2000 time frame, something like that. So yeah, no, Millington wasn't a thing back then.
I see. Yeah, I went to Millington, but that was 97.
Okay. Yeah.
No, maybe
Did they-
95. Maybe 95.
That was like, had they transitioned to utilities over dungarees at that time or not? Like, were you a part of that Navy?
Well, I was in the Marines, and
Well,
although
okay, I don't know. Then
we-
it was
I was
probably
I was in
yeah.
school with a lot of Navy guys though, and it seems like they
Yeah.
just had the blue sort of denim shirt.
denim jean. Okay, yeah. So that was before. Yeah, when I joined, they had just gone to where you had to wear utilities and stuff. So, but
That was around 2000 then.
something or
I
something
think,
around
yeah.
then. But no, I didn't go to Millington. I went to Pensacola, so it was like you had to go 8. You had like if you were eye level, which is like the bench level technicians, you had to go to 8 months of school, which part of that was, theory.
Hey guys, just so you know, Richard from Demolished Doctrine is in the green room, so I'm not no rush. But if anyone needs to bounce, I'm going to get him in eventually.
I'd say I want to bounce, but since he's my brother, I kind of wanted to be on here with him.
I'll go.
I was going
I'll
to say,
go.
I gotta head off, so I can head out now if that'll work for you.
Did you,
All right.
Tom? Did you already? What was the hardest school you went to? Oh, you already said. I was typing. I'm sorry.
MTC school was the hardest school, but that wasn't even the hardest thing I did. But it was the hardest school I went to just because you're learning.
MCT.
I'm learning electrical systems. I'm learning hydraulic systems. I'm learning like mechanical systems because when you're a missile technician, and I'm learning pneumatics. So I had to learn all of that stuff in my school, and just that was what made it so hard. But the hardest thing I did was to get my submersible warfare pin, which when I was finished, I was able to draw every system on that submarine.
Yep, that's a tough one to get.
That's it. Yeah.
And subsurface. What ESWAS is
surface.
Above,
that's your surface.
And then there's a subsurface version of it too.
Yeah, and there's an aviation version too. You can get wings too that are the equivalent of the ESWAS.
Awesome.
Yeah, and in submarines, if you don't get your submersible warfare pin, they kick you within a certain amount of time. They kick you out and send you to surface fleet.
It's a lot of studying.
It was funny in A school too that you mentioned that, because like the air warfare pin guys would always mix that up with guys who were aviation warfare specialists. That was a rating. So those guys were like, they would go to SEER school, like Marines have to, and they would like do some of their MCT stuff. They would have to go to aircrew school and shit like that. So they thought they were all like the shit. And those were like the jocks in the freaking A school barracks. It's like, yeah, that dude's fucking AW. Fuck him, dude. He's a egomaniac, you know, like, and they were, man. A lot of those dudes were psychopaths, just like the Marines we knew.
I was one of the few guys that would make fun of Marines.
True story.
That was crazy.
Hey,
all right.
You got to be a psychopath to be a killer, a stone cold killer, man. Shit.
Yeah.
It helps to partition it, and as many people as I'm responsible for casing that Casey's kill capture, which is in the triple digits, and I grieve for every one of them. I mourn for them. I'm sorry I had to do it, and I grieve for their families too.
But you're a necessary psychopath, though.
Psychopathy is a abnormal trait. I think
it is, but we have to have disposable people that don't we? A society functions on the people that we're not worried about dementing in that way, so that we can be safe.
The job of making bad guys room temperature doesn't have to be just for psychopaths.
No,
I'm going to get Richard in here now. Richard
It
Madsen
doesn't count
from
for a lot,
Demolished
though.
Doctrine. Greetings and peace, brother. Tell us about
Peace
yourself
and respect,
for the people that don't know who you are, where we can find you.
Short, easy time. Nobody shot at me. Construction equipment operator. Got to Spec 4. Failed out of PLDC for a lack of sense of direction. Didn't know that was a problem until I got that far. I don't know. It was easy time. It was a lot of people had a lot harder time than I did. I'm a Desert Storm vet, which means I saw action. I saw the repercussions of action, but I wasn't in action because I was a dozer, grader, scraper, loader.
We called those EOs in the Navy.
Equipment
operators.
Right.
What's the hardest school you had to go through, emotionally, mentally, or physically?
Yeah, Air Assault School doesn't offer much, actually, but they're so damned proud of themselves. They try to make sure it's hard. And it's not. It wouldn't be that hard of a school, but they're trying to buck up against what is the tradition of airborne, so that they make it physically as demanding as airborne. But you're going to run that much for no apparent reason. Like you got to be in really great shape to sling load a piece of equipment. That makes no sense, or to rappel out of a chopper or whatever. But I thought it was a lot of fun. I always loved the competition. Everything I did, I loved the competition with other people because, they're already in good shape and it. Like there's no doubt. Maybe you got 1 in 200 people that ain't in fantastic shape, but you're against your own age group. You're against people who are, physically fit. People have been working just like you do. So I love that crap.
You like the PvP.
What always irritated me about the Army is you could bust out, and like I've got all my PT shit in my my safe over here.
Yeah.
You could bust out 110, 120 push-ups, and I don't mean bitch push-ups. I mean like break the plane all the way down, all the way back up. Right? Have triceps the size of basketballs, do 120 sit-ups, right? But then you run a 1430 and they're like, oh man, that's right in the middle, man. You really need to do better than that. And then people are like, you see somebody run like a
1432 mile.
Right? They run like
2 mile. God, you scared me.
I was about to say. That's like, I could do that in a mile and a half. I could.
Everything was 2 in the Army. 2 minutes for push-ups, 2 minutes for sit-ups, 2 miles.
We do 3 miles, and 18 minutes is a perfect score on our 3 mile. Anything more than that is overkill.
Booking, though. That's crazy.
It's age relative. in the Army, or at least it was. They have a different PFT now, but depending on what your age was, you were expected to run. I always felt like right in the middle. My perfect run was like a 13:30, and like failing was like a 15:30 or a 16 flat, and I always ran a 14:30, right? But what I was getting at is it's this crazy standard in the Army, and I think anybody who's been in the Army has seen it. Like if you have like that gazelle, that guy who runs like the 13 flat every time, right? He or she could only do like 75% on their sit-ups and push-ups, and they're like held like a golden god. And it's just
because
like,
they're little scrawny ass fuckers. That's
Yeah.
why they have no upper body.
yeah. And then
I
you
sucked
go
on
out
the run.
the
I
rock.
barely passed the runs, but the rest of it was fucking easy.
Yeah, you go out on the ruck, and everybody looks at me. Hey, Ellis, can you carry the Mark 19 in the tripod? Yeah. What? I have to tell you, I totally feel uncompelled to do so. Why don't you go put it on Gazelle fuck over there?
Because he can't handle the weight. That's why.
No.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's interesting. It's interesting.
You can tell by looking at a service member that's in shape what service they're in sometimes. Because Army, you guys do push-ups on your PT test, and we do pull-ups. If someone's got a big chest, a big built chest, they're most likely Army. If they got big lats, like a big back, they're probably a Marine. You can sometimes tell. Yeah.
Well, they make us pull. We did pull-ups. We did pull-ups so we could eat during basic. You had to do them before you went in. Everybody had to do 10. And if you couldn't do them, we'd stand there and go, drill sergeant, can I pull for my buddy? Sure, go ahead. And I do a whole bunch because I wanted to fucking eat, and they were taking too long. I need some meat and taters.
With Madsen, though, this is something most of the other branches don't know. See, I was a specialist, right? Okay, so a specialist is kind of like your journeyman level, right? It's post PFC, but it's before NCO. It's basically like, it usually ends up being the guys that you can rely on because they've been in long enough to know what's going on and how to do their job properly.
And yet have no rank.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't do anything but like attribute to or give them like minor leadership roles, like take this squad down and police call the cigarettes, or go pull guard duty and you're in charge of the detail, that kind of thing. But Madsen, that is your name, right? Richard Madsen? We met before. Yeah.
Coincidentally, it's Beck's last name too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right on. Yeah. So you were a specialist 4, right?
Right.
They need to bring that shit back because there's a lot of people who they want to stay in. And a specialist 4, so people understand, is it used to be the Army is really confusing at this. At an E4, you can be either a specialist or a corporal. At different times, I've been both, but I go with specialist because I was I was what was called a non-DA corporal, which is a whole other fucking thing. But it used to be if you were serious about being a soldier, but you didn't want to be in charge of a bunch of troops, go from squad to platoon to company to battalion or whatever, you could go up in grade as a specialist. So from specialist, I think it was specialist 5 or specialist 6 was the top, right?
And it went up to 6, yeah.
Yeah, specialist 6, yeah. So you could literally be in 18 years and be a specialist 6, but still get paid basically, I think it came out to a E7 or E8 pay, something like that. Right. So you retained a lot of talent, right? People who actually knew how to do the jobs and perform the tasks. They just didn't want to be leaders, right? They had all the other shit they just don't want to deal with. So I think they need to bring that back. They canceled that back in the early 80s or late 70s, something like that.
That's a great segue, Jason, because my next question was going to be, what changes have occurred since you've gotten out that are show progress? And the 3 I could think of were, it was known as Don't Tell when I was in, and now openly gay in the military, which is freaking awesome and way overdue. Transgender in the military, co-ed boot camp, and I had one more. The co-ed boot camp, there's a lot of pushback on that, but you know what? I don't see any reason why not. I mean, why make inner circles within circles? Just train them all the exact fucking same. If you can't meet the minimum standards, you're gone.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is it doesn't matter if you have a male or female platoon. There's going to be a handful that end up going out on medical leave because they lose their mind because they can't handle it. There's going to be a bunch of them that can't do the PT and they get sent home. And then there's going to be the ones that just are total fuck-ups. And it doesn't matter what sex or gender the fucking soldiers are. It's just everywhere. And then you're going to have the top 5 or 10 that are excel and they bust ass and they do everything fucking right. And they're like the champion soldier. And everybody else is just in between, you know?
I like how
So
you
I don't
went
see
first
the
and
problem.
took all the good ones, Jim. That was great.
There's got to be others though. The bad changes for the worse is that Navy utility uniform, that blue. Why is it a tree? I mean, why is it a leafy pattern? You know, the purpose of camouflage utilities is to hide your numbers. Basically, if they're on the weather deck of a ship, shouldn't their uniform be haze gray with maybe black lines?
I was going to
through
say
it?
Battleship Gray. Yeah.
Yeah, haze
it
gray.
totally should.
But it's this blue. It's the perfect color that if you accidentally go overboard, that one kid on the fantail that's supposed to be looking for that kind of thing is never going to see you. That was stupid. That's the only thing. Everything else has been progress.
Well, I mean, the Army had the ACU. I don't know if you know what that was, but that was a train wreck of a fucking uniform.
Oh, was it the tiger stripe? No.
ACU is God, I wish I could share some images I could show you, but basically they were phasing that in while I was phasing myself out. It used to be the standard was the BDU, which is the ERDL pattern. I know I sound like I'm speaking Greek. Hey, sorry guys.
Battle dress uniform. BDU.
Right. The BDU is ERDL, which is it's a woodland pattern. It's the black, brown, and green.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to describe it to you other than that, but basically after that, and that uniform you had to starch, you had to press, you shined your boots.
Yep.
Many
times.
A very high standard to wearing that uniform.
Yeah.
And then what they did, and I kind of liked where the general was going with this that came up with it, but the camouflage was hideous. If you guys look up ACU Army camouflage or Army combat uniform camouflage pattern, it's the one. Oh, I know where you guys have seen it. Have you seen the one where there's the soldier laying on the couch and you can't see him? He looks like he's blended into the couch.
This must not have lasted very long. I don't remember.
No, I guess not. Is that like the stress card? I'm stressed. Stop yelling
that
at me.
lasted about 6 weeks. The stress card.
Yeah, that was like only trialed in some Army boot camps at the time I was going through, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, this is a bad idea because we need to stress people out."
Yeah.
You know?
I heard about that like years ago, and I was like, "What the? They didn't give us a stress card. I would have loved to have like pulled some out of my pocket and say, I'm stressed, drill sergeant, and see what he would have done to me."
Yeah, let's see.
Damn.
It's great if you can take a break because you're stressed when you're in training. You know, that doesn't really apply to combat.
Yeah.
What? You can't say time out, wave a flag
Yeah.
on a stick? Put your BD or your tallywise on a stick and wave it and pray.
Right. That's not going to work out.
I sent it to you in Facebook chat there, Jim, so you can look at it. Yeah.
All right.
Ellis, are you talking about the digital camo?
It looks like a digicamo. What it looks like somebody went to the Marines and they were like, "Oh, we want to jack that camouflage, but we don't want them to know that we jacked that camouflage." And it's got like it's almost got like a little bit of a pink hue in it. I've shared it.
That wasn't the desert one you're talking about.
No, there was two desert outfits, which I wore both when we were out there because we were out of stock during the invasion. So I had a chocolate chip ruck cover. Everybody remembers chocolate chip. Marines had chocolate chip too, right? But then it was also the DCU, which is the Desert Combat Uniform, which looks like the BDU, but it's only tan and brown.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, TCU. Okay, that's what I couldn't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
as much as I've been on a ship and I've seen some close calls. Man overboard. We do man overboard drills all the time. I just think the Navy utility uniform is just all wrong. I'm sure it's happened before. Someone gets lost when that blue. No, it's what? If you're not in a combat zone, everyone on a ship should be in like a bright traffic orange. Because man overboard's no joke. I mean, you're going 30 knots, steaming away, and if you fall overboard and the kid on the fantail doesn't see you, you're done, son. There's no saving you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what's that drop off of an aircraft carrier? Anybody know, to the water?
It's like 3 stories.
Ouch.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It
Water's
depends on which
concrete,
one. No,
you
it's 3 to 5. It's anywhere from 3 to 5. So.
And when you hit that water, it's gonna be like concrete.
What? None of the rest of you guys done helocasting? Anyone here
spy
besides
rigging.
me done helocasting?
Just you, bro.
Spy rigging, where you get 5 or 6 Marines all hooked to a like with a carabiner hooked to a rope, and then they pull you up one at a time and take you and then set you down. That's spy rigging. And then fast roping, where they hover about 50 feet or less, and then you just slide down. You're not connected to the rope. You just cross your fingers, and everyone goes down real fast. I've done both of those, and rappelling, but only from fixed base. Not aircraft.
Yeah, I've only done fixed base rappelling too. Yeah,
I've sat in an open door of an UH-60 with a pile of rope and a bag in my lap. Been the first out the door, flying nap of the earth. Looked like you could reach out and touch the trees. Big fun. But helocasting is something that they were just starting to use back at the 101st, back in about I don't know. Let me think about what year that was. That seems like it was about 89. And what it is the chopper's about 60 miles an hour, about 40 feet off the water. You exit the door backward, hugging your gear, and if you're just doing it Hollywood. You clamp your hands together on your chin like that, cover up your face, and you enter the water. No ropes, no nothing. Just jump out.
Damn.
I'm good.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
What I always heard was
Richard Suttles. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jim. I didn't mean to talk over you. I was just going to say what I heard was the worst thing about air assault was actually the heat from the ropes. When you were jumping off.
I did a one break with 60-pound ruck one time on a 90-foot rappel, and that's a mistake you don't make twice.
What gloves?
You break 3 times on the way down, so you don't build up too much speed, because I mean it's going to be so fast at the end of that 90 feet. With if you're a big dude and you only do 2 wraps, or if you got a ruck attached to you, whatever. Right. Yeah, you'll burn your hands.
Yeah, I've seen what can happen if you forget to wear gloves too. Your hands will be hamburger, just 30 feet fast rope. Richard Suttles, what is this you put in the private chat?
When you were asking about
management 2030.
Yeah, when you were asking about what has the Marine Corps changed, and they just now announced this kind of a new outlook. They have almost 200,000 Marines, and almost all of them leave after 4 years. And they're thinking about scaling that down, and then whoever they get to kind of push to be more towards a careerist, rather than just getting like, hey, be tough and obey orders, and it won't be easy, but you'll come out a man. That kind of theme is going to go away, according to this.
Interesting. Huh. What MOS were you again?
I did 3. I started in avionics, so I went to that hard school.
Nice.
I did Millington, and then after I was going to leave after 4 years, but Al Qaeda attacked the embassies, so the Marine Security Guard program came and talked me out of leaving, and I went to the Marine
you were an MSG. Oh, Jesus.
Were you like ASF before you went into that? Did you get like a taste of it or something beforehand, and then you figured you wanted to go do that? Is that how it happened?
Well,
I remember ASF guys that were like, "Oh, I'm gonna go and be a Marine or a soldier now." I'm like, dude, you were just there for like a couple of weeks, dude. Like, why? Why do you want to go do that now?
They say the highest stress jobs in the Marine Corps are not what you think. They're not recon or MARSOC or any of the high speed guys. It's the B billets, and the B billets are drill instructor, recruiter, and Marine Security Guard. They can just be super stressful, and you're always busy. And with recruiters, the amount of hours you work. I was a drill instructor. We worked 18-hour days. You were jumping for joy if you got 4 hours of sleep in the night.
Yeah.
It would
At least the operators were getting to shoot motherfuckers.
No days off for 3 months at a time. And then we might get a week break before we pick up a new cycle of recruits. But with recruiters, it's balls out. And Marine Security Guard, you're constantly, and you can be I don't know, you did your hardship. Usually, as an MSG, you do your hardship somewhere really nasty, right?
Yeah, you're supposed to do 2 tours, and I ended up doing 4. So I did my hardship first, which was in Haiti, and then for my good tour, they sent me to Vienna. But at the end of my tour in Vienna, the commanding officer in Europe called me and said, "Do you want to do a 3rd one?" So I said, "Yeah," and then I went to Budapest. So I ended up doing a bad and then 2 good, and then at the end of that, he said, "Now, do you want to go to Berlin?" So I spent 4 years, 3 out of those 4 tours in Europe, living great before I went to Iraq. So
I hear once you put on a rocker, though, once you're a staff sergeant or above, it gets a little easier, right?
well, you still have a lot of hours, but when you're a staff sergeant in the Marine Security Guard program, that's just like being a commanding officer, and it's just like the same in Iraq. I was a staff sergeant, but I was in charge of my 20 guys. So we had a warrant officer who stayed back. He didn't go out with us, and so he would kind of cover me if I was up against another officer. He would be my cover, but I was in charge when we were out on the road.
I have run out of questions, guys, and we're at exactly 2 hours. So let's start thinking about final thoughts or anything that I talked about or anything you're hanging on to. Oh, I was going to talk about stolen valor also. Stolen valor, for those of you who don't know, it's civilians dressing up in military uniforms and trying to pass themselves off to get whatever. Like today, when every restaurant out there to get a free meal or just to look cool or to go to a graduation, and so that's a felony now. Do you guys think it's
you need to make a distinction then when you say stolen valor. There is the legal definition of it, and then there is this colloquial definition that we just use when we know what we're talking about. Like the legal definition is if you say you have a job offer and they're like, okay, part of this job offer is that you have this specific experience, and part of your military is what you're using to qualify as that experience. So in other words, you benefit financially from saying that you were part of this and you weren't. That's a law. That's already been a law. That's illegal.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
I guess if anybody's stealing money wrongly, then that should be illegal, whether it's stolen valor or not. But I'm not really mad at somebody who wants the attention. I'm more feel sorry for people who just want the attention.
Yeah.
Richard,
that's more sad. Yeah.
You had your hand up.
What's the best questions a civilian can ask to know if someone's full of crap?
God.
The one I usually use. Well, okay, so it's hard without knowing, right? I mean, that's
it's easy
the thing.
for me. Where was the Marine Corps born? What year?
Oh, well, all Marines know that shit. Yeah, I mean, that's true.
It would be hard to
very few non-Marines know that we were born in a tavern in Pennsylvania in 1775. Right. That would do it right there.
But but his question was what could a civilian ask?
Yeah.
I kind of tell people to do this, but be careful about it, because if you don't have distinct knowledge of all these little nuances of being in the military, you can make a mistake where you accost somebody who is actually a veteran of stolen valor, right? But the one that I run into a lot is most people want to be something amazeballs, right? They want to be an 18
special forces,
like special forces, right? Or they'll say something ridiculous like, I was a Navy SEAL sniper SWAT member or something like that. You know what I mean? Like something that just like you listen to it and you're just like,
badass, dude.
Wow, dude. Yeah, that's when you start to, oh wow, really? Wow, did you shoot the Draeger? Was it cool? Did you shoot it? A Draeger's a breathing system. System, so you just
shoot the Draeger.
Yeah, I watch a guy.
If they're in uniform, you can just look at their ribbon rack, and there's if they're military, if they're not military, there is a high probability that their ribbons are out of order. You can just look them over.
Yeah. What they don't understand is like how precise everything has to be. Like the Army's got AR 670-1, right? And like
a what?
AR 670-1. It's the regulation for. Yeah,
he's just kidding. He knows.
You got what I mean, though, right? Yeah, and that's like you'll look at their uniform, you'll be like, wow, those ribbons are pretty backwards and upside down, dude. What do you got going on there?
Yeah.
And if they're like 30 years old, if they're 30 years old and they have Vietnam, Southeast Asia campaign medal or something, you know, sometimes it's easy.
Yeah, usually if they like straight up don't want to talk about it, I don't know.
Doesn't every branch use the term MOS?
No.
AFS,
If somebody's in the Navy, that's easy to ask, easy to find out. You're just like, hey, what was your rate? And if they look at you confused, like they don't understand what you're talking about, they are full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the Air Force, it's AFSC, which I don't know what that stands for.
Air Force Code, I believe.
Yeah. By the way, an airman was booked to be on the show, and he gave me less than 20. So Beck, you saw in the little collab it was that airman that backed out with less than 24 hours notice, which grinds my gears.
That's just disrespect.
So feel free to talk all smack about airmen today.
I mean, unless you're like, I'm in the hospital, a family member's dead, or in the hospital, like, you know, I can't make it. No, that's just disrespect. You better come up with a better story.
Yeah.
What was I going to say about the PT tests? In the Air Force, you can choose, you can opt out if you don't like the high impact of running. You can opt out and do your PT test on a exercise bicycle. On a stationary
we used to clown those guys when we would run by them on Barton Field, which is at Fort Gordon. Our drill sergeant was ruthless. He'd just be like, you know, hey there, fly boy, that's a nice haircut, you know, stuff like that, you know. Or get over, fly.
Don't laugh. They're doing that shit in other branches now too.
You know, but yeah, they always had their bikes out on the bike racks out in front of the barracks.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Ox.
Yep.
That's how you know I'm not full of shit, because I did nothing interesting.
Yep.
Dude, I was commo. I don't get it. Like, this is my thing, right? Like, I was commo. I graduated the head of my class, right? I have a distinguished graduate diploma, stupid thing from Fort Gordon, right? So I was like, okay, they're going to send me to some like really cool combo. Like, I'm going to go work at NORAD or something, right? And then like they cut my orders and it's like, you're going combat arms. And I was like, what the fuck is this, man? You know, like, yeah, just the way it goes sometimes, I guess. But
they didn't let y'all negotiate at all for like what commands you wanted and stuff. That's crazy, dude.
No. They give you a list and that you can choose.
You get a wish list, right? Okay.
And it may or may not be one of the ones that you choose. But
so they can laugh at you.
I got lucky. My first tour was shore duty in Jacksonville, Florida. And it was fucking awesome.
I think that's the one big thing is like if somebody comes up to you and you're like, yeah, so what'd you do? And they were like, oh, I was a 93 Golf. I was a administrative assistant. You know, usually you're just like,
he's a fucking yeoman.
You were really in.
Bro, I'd be like, bro, you were a yeoman. You should have wore the red dress like on the Enterprise. You know what Uhura on the Enterprise, like that's a freaking yeoman, dude.
Everybody died that was in a red shirt.
Yeah, everybody that's like not important that goes down to the planet and like gets killed because they're some unimportant job or whatever.
Yeah, when people ask me, like, other than the invasion of Iraq, like the most of the time, like I had some really cool details, some really cool DDY. Like I've done Purple Ramp, which is an Air Force detail at Ramstein Air Force Base. I did the 40th or the 60th anniversary of Normandy. That was in June 2004, and then the invasion of Iraq. Like I don't know what happened to me, but like I joined and like I had other friends that joined at the same time, and they didn't do shit. They're just like, yeah, just police called cigarettes and buffed floors for about 4 years and got out.
Stripping and waxing, baby.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
as a Navy guy, you learn how to wax.
Yeah.
Did any of you suffer any like moderate or severe injuries while you were in?
Like due to asbestos or something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. There was a time period there that if you drank out of the scuttlebutt, which is water fountain.
I haven't heard somebody call it that shit in so long.
The scuttlebutt. Scuttlebutt also means, it's funny, it's a water fountain.
It means rumors too. Yeah.
Yes. It's fun. It's weird. I guess there was a cancer. Anything could happen. I mean, and they say you don't. Well, it's probably true for all services, but they say it's impossible. No matter what your MOS is, you don't get out of the Marine Corps with good knees and good back. You're gonna blow them. It's gonna happen.
It's true. Every Marine I've ever met that's an older guy now, their backs and knees are blown.
Yeah. And
one of the things
Richard
about a lot of
Madsen.
Yeah, my ex-wife
go
definitely
ahead.
had bad knees. She got. It's
I'm sorry,
a
little
joke,
bit
but
of
it's.
delay, Jim. I was just saying.
No, that's all right.
So several things. A lot of combat vets, right? You know how, like, I know this is true in all branches. It's just got to be, right? Put your hearing protection in when you're at the range or, working on a loud piece of equipment kind of thing, right? But, like, what a lot of deployed guys have in common is like, you don't choose contact chooses you. So, like, when it starts going both ways, like, nobody's reaching up to their pocket to pull their ear protection out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of guys, they have bad ears. They've got tinnitus, from shit going off by their head. But
I had bad hearing going in. They had to waiver me in, and that's why I only had a choice of like 2 or 3 things to do. And the first thing they said was supply. And I'm like, okay, sure. How hard can that be, right?
Interesting. Like,
At least I'll have the best MREs.
Yeah.
I did too. I always had the best MRE.
Well, that's another thing that's changed. All these cool MREs that came out right when I retired.
I know. I was like, what happened to the styrofoam omelet?
It doesn't exist anymore.
What happened to that styrofoam omelet? What happened to the turkey? Turkey and gravy was the best thing I've ever invented.
Bro,
when I
I'm
was
just saying, it's great to have a galley everywhere you go.
That's one thing about
my favorite MRE.
And
I could always get my hands on the cheese omelet. That was my favorite one, and no one liked it because it came with Tabasco sauce and it came with the cherry nut cake.
Spot on, bro. Spot on.
Yes.
Yeah. Our first sergeant.
Oh, now they got like fucking like chicken and dumplings and fucking meatloaf, and I'm like, what about that meat patty you had to put in the water? They're like, what? And I'm like, never mind. You would understand. That shit was nasty. All 5 ways of Sunday. It didn't matter.
Yeah. Do you guys?
I would just eat it like this because I didn't want.
Have you ever had A-rats?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So A-rats are like it's kind of like a generic. I guess it's like a tray thing. When they served it to us, it was basically like the sausage that felt like it was or looked like it had been soaked in piss for 45 minutes or whatever, and then the eggs looked like they were made out of like a chalky substance. Well, I guess our first sergeant had enough of that shit because we've been eating MREs and A-rats for like 3 or 4 months, something like that. So he literally took one of the tractors because we were a Patriot unit. So you just take one of the tractors that hauls the trailers around, pulled it up to a Iraqi distribution depot, and drove off with a reefer van full of tangerines, milk.
Oh man, that shit must have been tasted like gold.
Oh, dude, yeah. But the thing is people would go into that reefer van because it was so cold to escape the heat.
Yeah.
And they would go in there thinking like, oh yeah, I'm just going to cool off, but your body becomes acclimated.
Shock.
Yeah, so they would shock and then they'd puke all over the inside of the van.
Don't puke on the melons.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, so it was pretty interesting.
That's just a general rule in everyday life. Don't puke on the melons, guys.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I love that first sergeant.
Unless she's into that.
Unless you're into that.
Oh,
sort of
Jim, you had to take it one step too far, didn't you?
Don't kink shame.
We'll step him up.
She's not, and I ain't doing it.
Sometimes we want to squirt all over the melons.
Oh, Jason just messaged me.
He wants to end it.
Okay, I see.
Oh, okay.
I see the camouflage you're talking about. Okay, guys. Let's get final thoughts, and we'll go in regular order now. We'll start with Beck. Your final plugs wherever, and if I'm going to be writing this down as you say, and I'm going to make sure that everything's in the description section, all the places where you can find these folks, and your final thoughts.
Well, Mondays, Wednesdays, 8:45 p.m. on my channel, Be No Just Beat. And I'm everywhere the rest of the time. I'm all over YouTube. You can find me anywhere in the atheist community. My final thoughts is for people who do not understand what people do in the military, don't hate them for being in the military. Most of us went in and had no fucking idea what we were really supporting. We were fighting for our country. They always, go after people that have no money and live in poor areas, and they suck you in with a paycheck and college tuition and a career, and you can do this and you could be amazing. And I feel like a lot of people after they got out realized how much of a fucking racket some of it is, and how much bullshit's behind it, and how much politics, and how much the churches are running shit and everything, just like the rest of our fucking government. So don't hate the guy or the gal that served, respect them. Hate the system, but respect them, because some of them have seen some shit. Half of you out there, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't fucking handle some of the things I know that people I've met that have seen. So, yeah. So happy Veterans Day, and just show respect to each other.
TJ, final thoughts?
Final thoughts? Well, hell, man, this has been a whole lot of fun. Whenever I come on the show, it's usually talk about good stuff, and always at least have a good time. So that's what I choose to focus on.
I miss you, man.
Miss you, man.
Miss you, brother.
Well, we're gonna, when this all knocks off, me and Jim are gonna meet behind a Bob's Big Boy, and
you said Kips.
Yeah,
see, Bob's Big Boy is in the West Coast, but it's Kip's Big Boy. Well, it used to be down here.
Yeah, no, I say checkers instead of fucking rallies or whatever. Yeah. It's the fucking big. But
the same shit.
I mean, that's a good thought to kind of, I guess, echo that. I don't think it's to me. It's just like with police too. I mean, anybody who's in service, a first responder or a person who's in the military or whatever. If whatever you might think about whatever system they're propping up by being in that profession, just understand that most people just want to make a living and provide for their family and protect their family and love the people that are close to them and do the things that are right. They think that are right in their life to do those things. So, if you want to have a conversation with people, that's one thing, but, always just be respect. It's like, just always be respectful to people. And you don't know what that person has gone through, especially if they're in the military and they were they saw combat or something like that. It's also a protection for yourself too. It's like, man, don't try to antagonize people who may have problems. And if you exacerbate those problems for them, like inside their brain, you may have something that you don't want on your hands. So that's like something to think about, especially with the Marines. It's like, don't mess with people and you don't know them. That's basically the thing, is like respect people for what they thought they were doing that was right in their life, and just kind of like be kind, I guess, is good.
Yeah,
to put it.
Good.
I love it.
Richard Madsen, final thoughts.
I want to go last. That's okay.
Richard Suttles, final thoughts.
Two things. One is I specialize in the radicalization process. So my career and my academics and my professional career are all about why people go from like just a normal person to eventually wanting to kill other people, and why they feel righteous about it. So if anybody ever wants guests like that or thoughts about that on their show, give me a call. I don't pick on religious people here. I think it's like a wiring system that we have that predates religion. So I don't think religion is the cause of it. I think it's just an example of it. So I won't pick on religion if anybody's curious about it, although I might have some religious examples. And then the second thing I want to say is I just reached out to Richard Madsen on Facebook because I'm guessing by the title "Demolish Doctrine," he probably has like a opposite ministry than what I have. It seems like you got a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we can debate or talk more, because I like people that have a opposite approach. That's it.
It's definitely nothing you've ever heard, but very, very interesting.
It's funny. I was going to do it in my plugs, but December 3rd, I've got a guy by the name of Melchizedek Roberts. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but his views make Richard Madsen's look like mainstream Christianity. So
come on, man.
Yeah.
He's sitting right there, man. He's like right there in the bottom left hand. There's Richard right there.
No. My brother knows that he says things that people are not expecting and will not understand.
It's unorthodox.
It's fine.
To say
He doesn't take it wrong.
Well, I respect that dude though. He's always been nice to me whenever I've talked to him, and I'm an atheist and he's a believer, and we love the hell out of each other. Like we're always cool to each other.
Exactly.
You know what? Some of the people that I disagree with on some things very strongly, like I get along the most with them. I don't know what it is, but it just happens.
Same.
Same for
Jason,
me.
final thoughts?
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking, man. I kind of want to just touch on something really quick, I guess, just for the benefit of perspective of the civilians watching, I guess. So there's a lot of like a stigma that goes attached to people who have like PTSD mixed with TBI, things like that. And the thing that I want to reveal to them that's very important is that just because somebody saw combat does not mean they have PTSD. Just because somebody did not see combat does not mean that they do not have PTSD. It could be military sexual trauma. It could be anything. And the things that sometimes like flip a person, like I personally have known people, and maybe in some way I'm kind of revealing a little bit about myself, but sometimes it's not even the act of, let's say, combat or anything like that. Sometimes it's the aftermath, or some sort of thing that just clicked and then became an issue. I guess I'm just trying to say, just don't be like overtly judgmental, and try to be a little bit, try to be a little more contextually considerate. I think that's what I'd like to say.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Okay,
Agreed.
Madsen, you got your last.
I appreciate it. I want to say I miss my brothers and sisters. I miss being in the military where it was expected, it was known that you could talk to anyone about anything at any time.
Yep.
And I wish it was like that out of the military.
Yes.
And it's not.
It's part of localism, man. Yeah.
It's not. It's just not.
I wish people were more brave. I wish they were less scared. I wish they felt more attached to each other, more free to speak, share what they got going on in their head.
And it's nice as we can get that. Yeah. It happens locally though. It unfortunately we're tribal by nature, and it has to start small. Like small. That's why in the military you get that one good group of guys, and you're like, man, these are my boys. You know, because they're in that small group. You don't. Yeah, you feel some lesser degree of kinship with all the rest of the members of that service branch, but really your guys are ones that you love and depend on and see every day and get pissed off at and have arguments with and hug and kiss when you're both drunk. Those are the dudes that you gravitate towards that are in your small group. You know, those are the people that really matter to you. And we have to do that with a lot of other things in life. If we want to have those, like if we're worried about, we're so divided as a country and this and that. Yeah, we are, but we've always been human beings have always been divided on a number of things throughout history. And we just want to, what we need to do is find those small groups. So start small and have it be across lines that that have to do with more about our choices than things, accidents of our birth, of course, because we want it to be about who we are as people, not what we are as human beings. So, and that's how I think that's a lot of our, these are good points that you guys are making, because it kind of shows that that's the direction we need to go. We need to get back to the local, because the internet and looking at a screen all day long and social media has us very separated and very isolated.
It's not healthy.
And we need to get back to those little local groups that we used to have, the country club that you went to, or your freaking your YMCA that you used to hang out with people and go play basketball with, whatever it is. We need to get back to those things that we've kind of gotten away from. So those are all excellent points.
Real quick,
Go ahead,
Yeah, Jason.
if you don't mind. This will be the last thing I add. For the civilians that are watching who have never served, I'm going to drop a few names here. And if you go to YouTube and you simply put these names in, I'll put them in the chat as well. Put in Master Sergeant. It would just be MSG. All right. Roy Benavides. And you'll bring up videos about his exploits. Also, I want Sugart and Gordon. I'll go ahead and try to post that in there as well. Those are two definite Army heroes. And the other one that I brought up earlier is Pat Tillman. And I consider all of these gentlemen to be they're all, so far as I know, they're all Medal of Honor recipients. But basically, I consider them to be kind of like the pinnacle of human being, or at least the pinnacle of selfless service. So just some things for you to watch on Veterans Day as the day winds down here, and maybe gain a little bit of perspective today.
Nice, Jason.
Richard Suttles, you had something else to add?
Yeah, just to add to what Richard Madsen, because Richard Madsen and AJ, or is it TJ? They just both brought up something that's kind of at the core of what I'm talking about this tribalism and how we're kind of biologically driven to behave. Check out this book called Tribe. I don't know if it shows up backwards, by Sebastian Junger. It's literally, you can read it in like an hour. It's a small book, Tribe. And he's saying that tribalism in and of itself is fine because it's about bonding with each other.
Yeah.
It's the polarization that you get in trouble.
Yes. See,
Agreed.
Told you, Jim.
And-
Remember when I was saying the dehumanization of other people with the tinfoil hat meme?
Yep.
Yep. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussions about how that dehumanization creeps up, but I'll get into that another time. But the second book is called The Meaning of Human Existence, and the guy's name is E.O. Wilson, and he talks about how we're like biologically made to live in communities of about 160 people, and we were like that for tens of thousands of years, and only now are we like trying to be a planet of 7 billion people.
Right.
So check out those two books if you're interested into why it's better to have like 160 friends and people that you really hang out with rather than trying to be a global. Not that I'm saying
Part of that's mutual utility, probably.
Right. It's just easier if you have a bunch of small, peaceful communities of 160. You probably will have better of getting the author of that Meaning of Human Existence is E.O. Wilson. He's like 90. Edward O. Wilson. He's like 90, but he's a biologist. Both of those are great books, and they're just basically saying, try to get back in those small communities. I'm not at all saying, I'm not making fun of people who are talking about being global citizens. I'm just saying that we're not wired for that yet.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to make that kind of a leap that quick, like we have. Yeah, for sure.
Ronald Reagan said something. It was specifically about Marines, but he said most people go through life wondering if they made a difference in their lives. The Marines don't have that problem. I would extend that to all branches of the United States military. And I just want to thank you guys for your service. And I extend it even further to first responders and nurses and EMTs and anyone who is in harm's way, not cops, firemen. We're part of that warrior class of society. We're that 3% or
sheepdogs. The sheepdogs. Here's the sheepdogs, man.
Yes, TJ. You guys look up the sheepdog, the sheep, and the wolves. It's a short story written by a Marine general. Just look up sheepdog, sheep, and wolves, and just read that. It's a quick read, and it tells you exactly the warrior spirit, the warrior mentality. All right, guys. So we're gonna cut it. I'm taking the kind of a short break from live shows. Yeah, go ahead.
He never got to finish what he was saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They all segued.
We totally did. I'm so sorry.
Was beautiful. That was beautiful. Everyone had
that was our way of
I spurned a thought. I'm happy to have spurned a thought. I'd like to spurn another one. It has nothing to do with military. Can I show myself a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do it.
If you dropped Christianity or any other religion for that matter, because it didn't make sense to you, but you kept the reading frame, you still don't make sense. Let's talk.
Wait, reading frame?
Yeah. Okay.
If you dropped Christianity but kept the Christian reading frame for their text, that also doesn't make sense.
I know what you're saying. You're kind of an apocryphal prophet in a way, where you say that the mainstreams interprets things from the Bible a certain way, and you interpret them in some places very differently.
Well, yeah, because you went back.
You actually have to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
the Bible's been bastardized too so much. He unbastardized it, is what he did.
Yeah,
and it does not read the same. I've read some of it,
and that's some hard work.
Not the same.
To know what people meant before the translation of what you thought they meant before is what they mean now. I don't know.
We are in
Like,
the
how
presence
would you
of
know if
greatness.
it's wrong now? How would you know what the initial intention was?
You guys look
right?
in the live chat. Digital Hammurabi is here.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
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 see
yeah.
that?
We've
I
been
saw that. I
graced.
saw that.
Holy shit.
I know,
That's-
right?
That's
Boom
an honor.
roasted. He roasted us just a
He
minute
did this
ago.
shit to me last night on my stream. He popped in with this shit, and I was like, "The fuck does that mean?"
That's crazy.
I would say that if somebody in the Old Testament talked about killing your children if they worship other gods and going and wiping out another village and pouring salt on their land so they can't grow anything, I would say they meant it just like that. They were very, very polarized and dehumanized towards people who didn't agree with them, and they wrote it down exactly like they meant it, and it caught on because the audience at the time meant it exactly like that. And so when people really talk about like, well, what Jesus really means is no, they meant exactly that, and it's just what they felt at the time, and it's why it caught on, and it's why it resonated at the time.
Congratulations on being strong enough to bite the bullet. Now we still need to talk though.
Oh yeah, I want to.
Okay.
I definitely want to.
Did everyone get? I'm sorry for stepping on you, Richard Metzen. And did anyone have
I'm
any
good.
last? I apologize for stepping on you. Okay, so that will put a bow on that present. And
All right.
so so the next live show is not for a while. December 3rd with that Melchizedek character, and I've got Thomas Bear from Off the Chain Atheist coming in to have the discussion also. So that's December 3rd. You're not gonna see a lot of activity from now until then. I'll be at Faithless Forum weekend after next in Austin, Texas, passing out keychains and stickers and whatnot. And if you want to get on camera, I've got little skits and little things we can do, all pre-recorded. And I'm still doing my side project. I'm using disc golf to lose some weight. I'm down 16 pounds, so it's not atheist related, but I'm doing that on the channel. And that is it, guys. Thanks so much for being a part of this. And this is like a third annual. This is the third Veterans Day we've done something like this. So it's a regular thing now. So I'll see you next year at the very least.
All right, bro.
Yeah.
I'm there.
All right. Take care.